Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 285 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
It's me, Karak with ACG.
And I'm Dustin with Last Stand Media and Handsome Phantom.
Gentlemen, January, I always like to call it the slow month. It's been anything but, as
True
Dustin
that.
fixes his hair aggressively.
It was all messed up, I realized. It was like this when we started, and so I was like,
yeah,
well.
I almost, I have nowhere to be, but I almost put product in my hair today strictly because it's just getting longer and it's starting to do that droop thing here where it's not having that body where it sits back a little bit. But, I figured once again, I'm in my bedroom. I'm literally going to end this show and then go sit in that bed directly behind me. And that'll be my night. So I figured there's no sense in styling my hair. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we hope all of you are doing fantastic. This is a gaming podcast.
Go. Sorry.
No, you're good. Anyway. Like I said, this is a gaming podcast, so we focus on the latest news, the biggest news, and we got a lot of big news this week from CD Projekt Red to Lucasfilm Games rebranding. Of course, that means new Star Wars games, Indiana Jones even. We got a Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake rumor to go over, as well as a brand new Pokemon Snap game, Resident Evil Showcase, Hogwarts Legacy being delayed, and a little bit of a debacle on the PC front for Hitman 3. So a lot to go over today. If you want to support this show, you want early access, go to patreon.com/MrMattyPlays. You can sign up there, and just for $1, you get early access to this show. If you want to be a part of the show, we do a patron question section at the end of this, where we go into the patron Discord and we read all of your questions. You can sign up through the Patreon and participate that way as well. Any way, shape, or form helps, or just, reviewing the show on mobile. Spreading the good word of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. Plenty of ways to help us get off the ground as a new year is ahead of us, and we have plenty of games to be excited about. So, gentlemen, as tradition dictates, we like to start off our podcast with what we're playing, what we've been up to. I always like to pass it off to one of you first, so I don't talk for like 18 minutes in the beginning of the episode. So, which one of you is feeling like you're rare in the chat?
Yeah, you got called out by Karak last week.
Oh, I
Karak was like, you spoke for half hour.
Yeah, I definitely. It felt like it was longer than that. I thought it was like 47 minutes.
I realized that could have been received as a passive jab. I'm sorry, Karak. I did not mean it that way.
Oh,
no.
Mine was an active jab. So if you passively jab me, I'm fine.
Okay.
Go ahead,
You
Dustin.
can take it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to think. This has been a weird week because last week when we rebranded the company, very, very busy trying to figure out all the details. This week was like the solidification of the process. So I've got to play more games, but not as much as normal. The big thing is I've started experimenting with streaming on my own personal channel, which is twitch.tv/DustinCanFly.
Weren't you doing Sekiro?
And I've been streaming Sekiro, and it's been going great, surprisingly. Like, it's not been a huge audience, but there is an audience. That's the biggest distinction, because other times I streamed, it was, playing for nobody, which is fine. I understand that's, you got to get your start. So I'm just kind of working. I'm trying to get that affiliate status. I just have to get some more hours in, but that'll be easy. And, just trying to get some trophies. The whole point is I'm doing the platinum for Sekiro, which is just like an excuse for me to play the game again. I've become obsessed with this game. I'm almost, I want to say halfway through the platinum run. So I think there is a second playthrough required though. So maybe not. Maybe I'm not anywhere as close as I think. But
I have friends who beat the game 4 times to get the plat. So
yeah,
I'm imagining you got multiple.
Yeah. I was reading on, there's that website. Is it PowerPix? PYX?
Yeah.
Their guide says that you can do it in 2, but you have to do some save scum where you like upload your save to PSN and then download it. Like you'll pop a trophy and then reload, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah, other than that, still like trucking through a bunch of little games, playing Crash 4. Which is just like, I don't know if it's just me getting older and just sucking at video games, but like that game's hard. Have you guys played that at all?
Dude, Crash 4 is redonk.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It is very hard. And it's to the point where I started playing the first few levels and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to play this slowly and get all the boxes as I play. I dropped that within like 3 or 4 levels. And I was like, fuck this. I'm just playing the game, playing through the levels like when I was a kid in Crash 3. I'm just playing for fun. And I cannot get obsessed or I will go, no pun intended, insane. Maybe pun intended. It wasn't intentional, but it is now.
I know Karak hates puns, but like, I'm about them. I think you got a nice. You're coin tossing every time you're.
I'm good if they're good.
What would you rate that one?
That one was mediocre. Wasn't bad though.
Right.
It wasn't intentional, so the fact that it even existed was great.
And it wasn't intentional. I have somebody who doesn't speak English as their primary language. They speak Spanish. They speak some variant of like Spanish. I remember it wasn't just perfect Spanish, but then he's learning English or has learned it very well, but he uses a lot. Like a lot. Yeah, it's almost like he watched TV shows to learn English, like Miley Kunis or something. And so a lot of the shit he says, you're all, what the fuck? Where did he come from? So Dustin couldn't get near as bad. He could try and wouldn't get close.
My wife, Holly, is the pun queen. I live with puns on a daily basis and just knocking them at me.
So you just have absorbed that probably.
I used to hate them, but now I just feel nothing. And so Holly will put out a pun. I'll say nothing in response. She's like, wasn't that a good one? And I'm like, I just can't. I cannot do this anymore.
Done with her shit.
I'm done with it, yeah.
Knights Old Republic online. The Discords got together. We're doing like big groups of that. A lot of Dungeons & Dragons online. And then looking around to try to figure out a lot of physical stuff. Like for some reason, working out's become like twice a day instead of once because I'm not sleeping so well. So it's like like going out and working out and stuff. I always like to do airsoft, a lot of archery, a lot of outdoor stuff.
Yeah,
I have 4 compound bows, so I love to. Nice. My dad owned a bow shop. Yeah, I love to. I don't bow hunt anymore. Obviously, I don't need meat. But the idea of like going back there and learning that archery is very fun to learn. Very fun.
Yeah, I remember going to like a medieval kind of festival and just shooting some bow and a couple of arrows, and it feels good.
Yeah, it's very physical and easy. Yep. There's something about it that feels more in tune than like a gun, which I also, enjoy shooting.
I've never shot a gun before, so no idea.
Gotcha. That's it for me. Not a huge amount of things going on this week.
I've also been playing a ton of Fire Emblem Three Houses. We're about 15 hours in now on our Blue Lions playthrough. And I gotta say, I like the game, and at the same time, I'm not as infatuated as other Fire Emblem games. There's a lot of cool systems in play here. I kind of like the professor thing where you're teaching your students, but even that immediately, like I'm talking 5 hours in, that got rinse and repeat. You instruct, you tell this person to do archery or this person to do this, and you're fortifying their build is what you're essentially doing. And I like that. It's a little bit of the RPG mechanics, but it immediately becomes very like rinse and repeat. The side missions in the monastery are fucking terrible, but you got to do them to get renowned so that you can boost up other parts of your progression. So it's one of those things where it kind of handcuffs you to them. And so those are awful. But yeah, the progression systems are nice and rewarding when you get later in the game and you start to do more battles. You start to do the character quests. Those are good. I will say, I love JRPGs, but I'm getting a little tired of their stories beginning like 15 hours in. Because that's what's happening with Fire Emblem Three Houses. I know there are multiple playthroughs that you should do to see the full picture. But in the case of my Blue Lions playthrough, there really wasn't a core that was kind of keeping it all together. It was just like, take out these thieves, take out these bandits in the name of the monastery. How dare you? Hero's relic. And then all of a sudden, boom, it finally takes off. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I like the game. I'm going to stick with it. I'm just not as in love with it as I was with the Fate series or Fire Emblem Awakening. I think almost it tried to look at Persona and go, how do we take this formula but not directly copy it with the student life? So they make you a professor, and it's like, okay, cool, but it's mechanics that you do are just too rinse and repeat. To not sound like I'm repeating myself too much here.
Matty, I totally agree with you on that, though. Like that was one of my biggest problems with that game, is that especially by the end, it's like just doing the cycle over and over. Now, I have a question for you that maybe can emphasize how you're feeling. For me, Fire Emblem Three Houses is like, sometimes it's somewhere between like a 7 and an 8. But looking back on it, it's like it has really glaring flaws. Specifically, like you said, the rinse and repeat, some of the like character interactions, the backgrounds look terrible and they can be kind of boring. But it's a 7 to 8 that I really, really like on a personal level.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I like games. I've made it really clear. For those who haven't checked it out, please do. If you watch my Godfall review, I make it pretty clear there. I don't like games that stay in a comfort area and do nothing, you know. And it's weird because at times I like Assassin's Creed. I don't know, guilty pleasure maybe. But for the most part, I like nowadays when games really try new ideas. They try to reinvent themselves. So I appreciate Fire Emblem for that. But at the same time, there was this familiarity, and I think it's because they finally came up with these mechanics to sort of separate itself from a comparison like Persona. But I don't think they did enough to diversify that. So that's what I've heard once your professor level is high enough, and for those who don't know, in this game, when you level up your professor level, you're able to have more points that you can spend doing activities. My friends were saying like you'll have like 8 meals a day to get everyone's motivation up, and so it starts to make no sense either. And I don't know. I like it, but I gotta be honest, after hearing years of like, this game's amazing, I think it might have been a little overhyped, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
I think it's a good foundation for a sequel, though. Like, it's the first console game they've done in a really long time. And I think they had Koei Tecmo involved as far as some of like the 3D models and stuff like that. So I feel like it's eventually gonna get, better. Like with the sequel.
And that's the thing. I mean, I know they've added some DLC, so I know there's that too. But yeah, on top of that, I've been on my Xbox a lot. We just launched the Finding Duke and Xbox podcast. It's been doing really well, and we're really happy about that. So just kind of out of excitement for that show and to kind of reconnect with a lot of games that I think we're going to be talking about. I've gone through 3 of the Gears games in the last week, which has been fun. Just nice co-op playthrough. We downloaded Forza Horizon 4, downloaded Sea of Thieves. So probably within the next week, we're going to be playing those. I know the plan is to play Sea of Thieves tonight. So I haven't played Sea of Thieves since it first came out. We did a Patron gaming session, and we played some Sea of Thieves. And so that was a really good time back then. And I've heard it only got way better. So yeah, ultimately, that is what I have been playing. Content-wise, it's just been news, discussions, reviews. So more of the same, which is perfectly fine with me. But gentlemen, shall we get into the news, or is there anything more we should tag on?
Let's do it.
Nope, we're good?
Yeah.
All right. Then here we go. Lucasfilm Games is going to headline our news for the week because we know this is where we all want to talk about Star Wars. So yeah, Lucasfilm Games did a bit of a rebranding. It seemed to symbolize that going forward, there was something changing with at least Star Wars gaming, but funny enough, the first announcement that came was an Indiana Jones game. This is being developed by Machine Games, the studio best known for Wolfenstein, and it's going to be executive produced by Todd Howard. Now, what's interesting is we learned in a post afterwards talking about the revealed Ubisoft open world Star Wars game that Todd Howard pitched the story and concept for this Indiana Jones game. So I don't think that means he's really writing it per se, but this is sort of his idea, which is interesting at the very least. A lot of people thought he was more on like a managerial level, but it seems he's involved in the creation as well. So there's that. And then, like I said, Ubisoft's doing an open world story-driven Star Wars game. This is by Ubisoft Massive. They're working on an Avatar game currently. I didn't even know about that. But they're working on that as well as this Star Wars game. It looks like Division 3 probably won't be happening, but they are best known for the Division series, which I think only got better. I thought Division 1 was solid and Division 2 was really good. And it was one of the few live service games that launched in a complete and I would say it was a quality state, but that was based off my experience. So yeah, we got 2 big announcements from Lucasfilm Games. Obviously, these are a ways off because we still have EA's deal, which is set to expire in 2023, but Lucasfilm Games did make it clear that that partnership would be continuing on. Now, I'm sure across the games industry, this has been talked about to death, so I think most of our audience has a general idea of what's happening. So let's just get right into the conversation. Dustin, I want to start off with you, because me and Karak have already talked about it on Defining Duke. We'll talk about it here. What do you make of Lucasfilm Games' big announcements, and are you excited for the future of Star Wars games and a Ubisoft open world game? And do you have like a dream combo in mind for Star Wars and a certain developer? Like, just go crazy, man.
I'm in a conflicting spot with Star Wars. I mean, I just feel like they've jerked me around too many times. Okay. And maybe they've jerked me off too many times, and now I'm just shooting blanks. I feel nothing anymore about Star Wars, which is sad because I love Star Wars. Like, Force Awakens had some issues, thought it was great. Rogue One at the time, pretty good. I
love that movie.
I liked it initially, and now I don't. Like, last time I watched it, I was like, this wasn't as good as I remember.
The Last Jedi.
What?
Not even because of that's how I am with The Last Jedi. It's funny because that wasn't even because of what people said on the internet. Like, I watched it again, and I noticed the clip that always sticks with me is the throne room clip. Like, I thought that was amazing first time I saw it. I walked out of the theater, I was like, wow, that was so good. And then I realized how many like editing errors were in there, and I'm like, wow, they really just stitched this shit together. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Rogue One for me, I loved from day one, and I still enjoy that movie a lot, but different opinions.
Yeah. So, and now it's just like there's a million Star Wars of everything. And it's like my worst nightmare is that it's like we're never going to escape Star Wars, which is sad. It's something I love. I love Star Wars, but I'm like, slow down. But I will say, on the other hand, with, the quality of Jedi Fallen Order, what I liked about Fallen Order is that it took a relatively, I guess completely unknown story. It brought an entirely new character and was not related to anything else going on in Star Wars. And that's what I want more than anything. And that's what I've mostly liked about Mandalorian to an extent, without really spoilers. Now it's like they can't fucking resist being like, hey, remember this guy? Remember this guy? It's like, no, just tell me a story that doesn't involve anyone else. We've seen these people.
That's why they gotta bring back the Old Republic. This is what I'm saying, man.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. It's because no one fucking knows who that is back then.
Exactly.
4,000 years ago.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, we have an entire fucking galaxy, and yet we are constantly rotating through the same, 12.5 characters over and over again. So, with all that said, I'm very intrigued, but very cautiously optimistic about any more Star Wars stuff. I guess what's the most interesting / curious, like what I'm wondering about aspect is that, are they making a Division style Star Wars game? Are we getting I guess let's broaden it up. Are we getting a live service Star Wars game?
Oh, dude, there's got to be someone out there making. The thing is that kind of already existed and exists now. You got Galaxy of Heroes on mobile. Battlefront 2, when it released, was very driven by microtransactions.
Sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, like a live service, a continuation where it keeps going and keeps building. I'm sure something like that is. I don't know if it's Ubisoft's game, though. I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much because they gave us very vague details, but story-driven open world doesn't really speak to me. Like, it could go either way. It's a coin toss. It really could go either way. To me, it doesn't read like, oh, they're doing it online, but they have a history of online games. But what I imagine is probably the safer bet is it's got to be a third-person shooter. That's what they do.
Right.
And they've always done.
So
so yeah, I hope it's at least that, right? You're like a bounty hunter or something. That'd be dope.
sure. What's much more intriguing to me is the Indiana Jones game, which I know you two have already talked about it on Defining Duke, but I'm just really intrigued by Machine Games being the developer. I mean,
Yeah, it's an interesting pick.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends. He's like, it's going to be great. It's going to be a first person Indiana Jones game. And I'm like, I don't think so. I really highly doubt that it'll be first person. I think it's going to be akin to how we have Respawn being a first person studio and then they made a third person Star Wars game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that even though they have that pedigree, I think it's going to be third person. The question really is how much are they going to be looking to Uncharted and Tomb Raider for this game? Which is just ironic because it's just this never ending circle of inspiration at this point, if they go that route. So I don't know.
I hope they don't.
Me too.
Because honestly, one thing Karak had said to me that stuck with me is kind of the goofiness of Indiana Jones and almost that kind of not taking itself, I don't say not taking itself too seriously, but kind of like self-defense and finding trouble, but not really actively looking for it. And I feel like that could be like a good fun time, like a nice lighthearted adventure almost.
Mhm.
And I don't think either, like obviously Tomb Raider does not have that attitude at all. And Uncharted, I think started off a little more lighthearted and just tried to get more serious. And that's where I was like, this kind of isn't my speed. So that's why I think Machine Games has a really good opportunity here, because I am not really an Uncharted fan. I've played 1 through 3 and I like 1, and that's really it. I hate to say it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's such an interesting take on Uncharted.
Yeah,
To
it
like
is.
1 the best.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is when I present my opinion, I think I do a pretty good job of sitting here and not going like, your opinion's wrong. It's like, this is just my thoughts. So
Sure.
I if you came over to me and said Uncharted 2 is the best or 3 is better, I wouldn't disagree. I just like 1 the most. I think it spoke to me as the most Uncharted. You know, you're crawling through tombs. I thought like the kind of tropical island feel fit the best. I will say the World War II thing that you find later in the game kind of bumped it up a couple notches for me because I love World War II anything, so personal bias involved. But yeah, I to me that spoke the most to me as on an Uncharted game. And so if Indiana Jones can do more of that, I would be really, really interested in that. Because, you know, it's funny, I was talking about Emperor's Tomb on the Xbox, the original Xbox.
Yeah.
That game I played a lot. And I think that may be why I liked Uncharted 1 the most, because there are some artistically... I was watching that gameplay. I was like, this is very reminiscent of, well, not really reminiscent. If anything, it inspired Uncharted, right? And so, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I really hope they go for something like that with Indiana Jones.
I wonder, this is totally just my mind running with this, but
That's all we can do.
they took, Respawn made a third-person Star Wars game that had Souls elements in it. What if you could do that with Indiana Jones? Like, primary weapon is the whip. You do have bullets, but they are limited, or you can only use them in particular situations. And maybe with a more puzzle focus. I don't know.
Almost like the puzzles of Tomb Raider, but a survival aspect. Not survival like food, water, that type of shit, but, you know, survival as in Resident Evil, like limited resources to stay alive and fight off enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Indiana Jones, as far as I recall, never came in with like bullets loaded up on his waistline. You know, he had like 18 clips for a revolver. So
Right. He's not Rambo.
that'd be good. Yeah, so I'd be good with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways that they could take it, and I think that's what's so intriguing. Now, Maddie, I have to ask you, which, again, you may be repeating yourself, but Todd Howard's
it's fine.
involvement is one of the weirdest things to me, because Todd Howard, busy man right now. He's got 2 games that are announced and an act. Well, I mean, I don't know what his day-to-day involvement is with 76, but he went out and announced it and acted like it was his game. So I'm going to put it on his list right now as involved.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I can kind of break that down a little bit because he he was definitely used more as a marketing tool for 76 because the studio that worked mostly on 76 wasn't even his studio. So he was definitely more so like out there being the mouthpiece for the game, because I'm sure they knew if anyone else hit the stage, they'd be like, fuck this shit. But Todd, I think there's just a genuine level of trust there between him and gamers.
He took the hit on that, and that was their fault.
He did take the hit on that.
Because they decided to prop him out and say, it just works at that E3.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he's really busy. They've got Starfield obviously coming at some point. Does this say that Starfield is nearing completion? He has some time where he's still overseeing Starfield, or does this mean that maybe his role is much lighter than we think?
I personally believe it means that Starfield's closer to complete than people realize. And I've said that for a while. Like, I genuinely believe, and I've definitely said this more than once, that Starfield would have been a 2020 game if we don't have a pandemic. I 100% believe that would have been the case, because I think they want to get that out, and I not like rush Starfield, but I do think they want to get on to Elder Scrolls 6. And I know Starfield has been worked on for more years than people realize. So for me, I think it's way closer to done than folks see. It's funny enough, Pete Hines was actually asked on Twitter about Todd Howard and how many things he's involved with, from 76 to, of course, the Fallout TV show, being an executive producer on that. Yeah, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, now Indiana Jones. It's 5 things that he is involved in, like 100%. Whether it's a little bit or a lot of it, he's involved. And it does take up headspace. Now, Pete Hines said, Todd is currently executive producer on many BGS and other projects, such as the Fallout TV show. His main focus remains directing the upcoming Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 games, which aren't affected by today's news. Now, I think what happens is, and I'm guilty of this, a lot of people are guilty of this, it's not a bad thing. I think a lot of people are looking at this as a whole. Like, right now, 76 is in development with, like, its next patch, its next update, and he just kind of, like, I think reviews it, and that's really it. So, is that extensive? No. I don't think that takes him away from anything. Indiana Jones, he pitched the concept, the story, so I think that's kind of done. Like, his job's done. Now they've confirmed development of the game. That's all in Machine Games' hands. So I think at the end of the day, his head truly had to only have been in, fully, I mean, Starfield. Because otherwise, I can't see how else this would have worked, because Indiana Jones is so far away that I don't think it could possibly take him away from anything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, that's going to be a 2023, 24 game, maybe. It could even be 2025. You know, it's just starting now. So I can't fathom how they'd be so far along that would take Todd away from something. The Fallout TV show, I think, definitely could. But I think, you know, what's happening here is it's kind of like the Vince Zampella effect, and it's not just him, but many other talented people in our industry. When you are talented, these companies want to use you everywhere. So Vince was like at DICE LA, and they're using him for Respawn. They're using him to fix all of EA's problems. It's like Vince is one man, and he's a very talented man, but, you know, just plugging him in everywhere, I don't know if that's always going to work. Same thing with Todd Howard. You know, he was good because Morrowind was his baby, Oblivion was his baby, Fallout 3 was his baby, right? Like, he's directing these experiences. They're his sole focus. That's not to say he hasn't slipped with, like, Fallout 4, where I think he lost a little bit of the vision of what makes his game special. But I do think Bethesda might be playing with a little bit of fire, just kind of throwing him into everything.
Well, you mentioned the Fallout TV show, and I'm wondering if it could be a case where, like, someone's writing the script and he's part of the approval and workshopping process. He gets a script, he writes his notes or whatever, sends it back. You know what I mean? Maybe he approves some art direction or
giving
whatever.
The thumbs up. I think that's more so what it is for, like, because he, you know, he probably said, like, Indiana Jones is going to go to, we saw in the teaser trailer, he's going to go to Rome and he's going to do X, Y, Z, and we're going to have Machine Games do it. That was like the story, the concept, and the general pitch maybe with when they went to Lucasfilm Games. And so I think at that point, when that's accepted, his part is done. Now it's on the writers to start, you know, developing that story. They're like, hey, Todd, we did the first act. You send it through. What do you think? Change this arc here. Change this character moment here. You know, that type of thing. So I think it's more like oversight at that point. So I think maybe, you know, based off my knowledge of game development, it could be that his hard work on that project is done. That is what I would speculate, at least. You know, I'm not saying I am the know-all, but that is what I would I would wager.
I think you might be the know-all of Todd Howard, Maddie. At least in my life. If I have a Todd-related question, you're the guy I'm coming to.
I wonder if Todd knows that. You know, he's just like, this guy knows way too fucking much shit about me.
So I try now that if I'm at a gaming event, I'm not going to go up and talk to somebody that I see. I was going in an elevator in a hotel to go check out some product that we were going to write some kind of thing for. And as I press the button and the door opens and I look up and Todd Howard is before me. And I was like, whoa. And then he walked away. And then I went in the elevator and I was like, wow, he's just a man. And I think he's made a lot of mistakes. It was just the shocking moment. You press a button for an elevator, the last thing you expect is Todd Howard.
Todd Howard walk. Yeah, man. I remember when I first met him and we chatted for a while, and then like I passed him on the show floor, and you know, like we just like, hey, I know you, and you know, 'cause it was the first day we had met, so we saw each other a second time and we shook hands again, but it was pretty fucking corny in the scheme of things. But yeah, you know, you just can't help yourself, right? You get excited because you see someone that, you know, you've only read about.
Right.
It's a rare opportunity.
Yeah, dude, it's weird. I saw the creator of Dark Souls, Miyazaki, waiting for an Uber. I was like, Dustin, do not talk to him. He's just, it was like 10 in the morning. I was like, do not go talk to him. He's just a man trying to get an Uber. He's trying to get to a meeting.
In his face, Bloodborne 2!
Yeah.
Give it to me, goddammit.
Yeah.
Karak, what do you think of everything that has transpired with Lucasfilm Games? From Indiana Jones to Star Wars, all that shit. Are you excited as you just let out a subtle yawn? You're like, I'm not amused.
Was it
Fuck
subtle?
This shit.
Yeah, I mean, the Ubisoft stuff is great. We talked about that. I don't know what they're going to do. It could be very easily where they looked at Assassin's Creed and they looked at Division and said, we're going to merge these two to make Star Wars, which has been sort of a rumor for years. In fact, I think it was Primal where they were talking about merging some of the aspects of both so that you could have up close battle as well as far away, and it all felt right. And you can fuck off because Primal's awesome. So
I was gonna say, suddenly I don't want this Star Wars game.
I'm gonna push you down a flight of stairs I build myself. Anyway, so they I would be okay with them trying to figure out a way to do that. I would also be okay with Division 3, but just called Star Wars, if that turns out well, because that would probably indicate bounty hunters, which would be less Jedi, which I'd be okay with. I don't necessarily need Jedi. I think Division 2 has the chops when it comes to everything other than the location. I think the location in Division 2 is just a little bit of it was hard to keep up with the snow level that the entire first game was. So, but its combat was fucking awesome. And then it just seems to me Snowdrop, looking at what that engine's capable of doing and looking at what it's capable of doing on last gen versus this gen and some of the technical stuff that they've changed. My personal opinion is we probably shouldn't get our hopes up that it's going to be something massively different. That's just the more I look into it, the more I'm like, we'll see if they play it safe. The cool thing about EA and Ubisoft and now supposedly a rumor that another company are all handling Star Wars is that in 2023, when the exclusivity goes away, it won't just be them. And I had to live through Games Workshop, who does Warhammer, Space Marine. I had to live through them being very careful with their IP, then being so loose that they had shit games everywhere. Like they would just sell the IP to everybody, and then very tight again to where we are now, which is where you get really good games, whether it be Total War, Space Marine, which hasn't seen a sequel, unfortunately. Vermintide's sequel will be in Warhammer. So I think it's only good when it comes to the ecosystem of Star Wars, because I think Squadrons was great, actually. Like, kudos to EA. There's nothing wrong with Squadrons as a title. Nothing. Like, that is a good game. I agree. But the one thing I do want to say is, so I had Lim O'Neill, who was the producer of Vermintide, on the podcast a couple times, Vermintide 1 and 2, and we had asked him what a producer does versus an executive producer. And also, if it was different per company. And one of the things he did describe is actually one of the things that I think there's probably a bit of mistake on the oversight that's required day to day. from an executive producer. So even if you go to Wiki, I was doing that when you guys were talking. If you go to Wiki and you look at just their internal producer and what they do, it states negotiates contracts, acting as liaison between development staff and stakeholders, developing and maintaining schedules, overseeing creative and technical development, ensuring timely delivery of deliverables via milestones, scheduling timely quality assurance, arranging for beta testing, arranging for localization, pitching game ideas. So to me, what is probably happened is people are probably assuming that the executive producer via Todd is working more than he actually is per game. And that what we're seeing is a situation where Bethesda has probably seen him pass down data to other people. They've worked with him. And perhaps his executive producer role is a little less busy than we all assume, which is why we do see him on a movie or a TV show. You said Fallout TV show?
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see. I don't think he's too busy. And I don't necessarily, you and I still, I haven't seen anything to indicate Starfield is anything other than a grotesque far away. Like, I know you think it's 2020. And to me, what I saw was like 2025. Like, I can't fix. So, but again, you have contacts. I don't. You think about this stuff, or I don't. So this is the one where I'm just going to be like, okay, I've only seen a couple pictures and how companies work. So to me, seeing this, I'm a little different than you, where I'm like, it doesn't feel like that he's stepping away from Starfield. It feels like there's a chance he just isn't doing as much day to day as we assume. It'll be interesting though, because if Starfield comes out this year, which dude, even saying that makes me put up guards and get ready to say it's impossible. But if it does, which would excite me to no end, if that comes out this year, then my opinion of Bethesda raises dramatically. And one of the reasons why is because no one knows if it's coming out. I mean, you've got your guesses, but it hasn't leaked as much.
They are locked down.
Right? So to me, if it does this year, that will be proof to me that they've controlled a bit more on the leaks and that we can assume some surprises, which are not really something we see in gaming anymore. I'm not really surprised anymore. And so I was surprised Star Wars, and I was surprised with Indiana Jones, especially Indiana Jones, because to be honest, you've got a goofball. He rarely ever attacks people. He's almost always attacked. He's not homicidal Nate from Uncharted. Fucking that dude's just a lawnmower of bullets. Like, he just fucking kills everybody and then smiles, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, Nate's pretty cool. I love him, by the way. I love that gameplay. I love Tomb Raider, but Tomb Raider is torture porn. I mean, even the actress, the voice actress who did Camilla Luddington, did an interview, and she said she could not tell if she was being killed or having the world's best orgasm when she was doing the voice, because she was that. Like, so do I, especially Shadow, which was way beyond Rise in how
really.
Like,
I never
her.
Played it.
I like
it's
Shadow.
Crazy. I love Shadow. I like it. I don't like it as much as Rise, but it's her death scenes were so far beyond, dude. It was almost like it was crazy.
I always thought that felt out of place in those games.
Well, in a way, I think maybe if it doesn't feel out of place for everybody, you're probably seeing a spot where indie could fit in. As in, if they're going to go that route, great. Let indie come in and be the hunky-dory, music and him whipping somebody and it being funny. That, to me, is the epitome of fun games. That's what I want to see. I want to see somebody have fun. You don't need to kill them. You don't need to be Tomb Rambo, which is what Laura is. Imagine if he just comes in and it's like, dude, you're going to be swinging around. We're 1930s maybe, so you don't have to put Nazis, because Nazis, Maddie and I talked about this. I just don't think in the current political climate you'll see Nazis. It's possible, but I feel that some companies are going to shy away from that. I'm excited. And first person, your friend, dude, needs to puff, pass. He needs to pass the bong, because first person, that would...
I'm with you, dude. Like, that's why I was like, there's no fucking way.
There's no way. Can you imagine swinging first person or all the platforming? That would be raw. It makes me a little sick.
They could tap in on the shoulder for Doom, because I thought they did first person platforming well, but I don't want it. But
okay, yeah, no, that's a good point. You mean Doom Eternal, right?
Yeah, I thought they did first person platforming well. But
do you know why you did? Because it wasn't all the fucking time, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just
right?
about to say that. Yeah.
You know, so but I get you. I get you. I'm excited for all this. Dude, it was awesome to be surprised because I sat there in front of all my viewers and was like, what the fuck? Lucasfilms changed their name and they didn't say anything about Star Wars or any other stuff. And then the very next day, they're like Indiana Jones. And I'm like, okay. And then the next day, they're all Star Wars. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So the one thing, though, do you guys ever wonder why they didn't do it the same day? We talked about this. Why is it that they announced the naming? Maddie and I were thinking that it was because they wanted to give each announcement room to breathe. But it was interesting to me that they announced the name change, consolidation, and then did Indy, right? And then did Star Wars.
I think the idea was, if you do, I got to be honest, and I could be wrong in this. I feel like you do Indy after Star Wars, Indy doesn't create hype. It's more of just like, oh, cool. But I think because Indy was first after the rebrand, people were like, oh. And then speculation really picked up in that 24 hours. Like, what does this mean for Star Wars? And then they had an answer.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I hope it's good. I love Indy.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting is in the Lucasfilm Games post on their blog, they said that they're going to be announcing more projects throughout the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's in reference to EA because I'm sure they have more along the way. But I really got to wonder what else they got up their sleeve. You know,
you guys know if Squadrons sold well? Because I'm surprised we haven't already heard of like a Squadrons 2. I mean, it's a premier VR game.
Enough because they weren't going to do any DLC. Then people liked it so much they did free content afterwards. So
and you can't tell me it costs tons, right? It's not the same cost matrix as like a Valhalla. So
no. And so, yeah, I mean, I hope that game did well. I thought the story, and it makes sense because some of the writers were the same as Battlefront 2, but this story in Squadrons was kind of conceptually similar to that of Battlefront 2. And so,
of course,
yeah, that's why I appreciated Jedi Fallen Order so much. I was like, something new, thank you. This is great.
I bet they're working on a Quest version of that.
Are they?
Yeah.
Or I'm guessing. You know what I mean? If it did well enough, then there's so many people that have Quests. Obviously, you can connect it to the PC, but there's so many people that don't do that.
Gotcha. So you mean like you're hoping for a standalone standalone Quest?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be for me, but I'm sure that there are. I know people that have a Quest that do not have a high-end gaming PC and would probably love to play it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know for a fact, just because Jason Schreier said it, and I would believe it, plus the sales numbers make complete sense, but Jedi Fallen Order 2 is definitely going to happen.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, that's and the kid from Shameless, whatever his name is, I love that kid.
Cameron Monaghan.
Cameron, dude, that guy is fucking Shameless, one of the best TV shows ever. To get him for a Star Wars is such a step up. Like a lot of the nobodies that they get for Star Wars. I mean, not to diss on anybody, but you know what? They also got, what's his name? From the Crying Game. The black guy who played the main. Let me find
the Crying Game.
That's all I remember him from. Oh no, that's the movie. Sorry, that was you guys haven't seen the Crying Game? You guys know what the Crying Game is?
That's a movie, or are you talking about a video game where there's crying?
No,
I thought of Death Stranding.
The actor in the Crying Game is in the Star Wars, and I said it was the game, but he's actually in the movie you guys were talking about earlier, the one where Darth Vader shows up at the end and fucks everybody up.
Rogue One?
Yeah, Rogue One.
I got to see what this is. The Crying Game.
It's about a man who dates a woman and finds out she's a man. It was like one of the premiere movies, and you guys haven't heard the song "The Crying Game"? Like it's actually super popular in media right now. Come on,
starring Stephen Ray, Miranda Richardson, Jay Davidson, Adrian Dunbar, Ralph Brown, Forrest Whitaker.
Thank you, Forrest Whitaker.
Okay, there we go.
Forrest Whitaker's the one with the droopy eye,
guy.
The black actor, big heavy set guy. Good, Street Nights with Keanu Reeves.
Yes,
so good. He's the bad guy in that. Oh shit, sorry. Anybody was going to watch it. If anybody's going to watch it, that got spoiled.
I actually, what's funny enough is I was tuning you out as I was reading. So
yeah, but you're not going to tune me in if I talk about movies anyway, because you never watch one.
This is fair. This is fair. All right, I think we have thoroughly covered all of the Lucasfilm Games news.
Oh, real quick, I did want to ask you guys. What's your guess on how Star Wars, the game? Do you guys expect a first-person shooter? Do you expect a third-person Valhalla, or do you expect like a Far Cry? Like, what do you for the Star Wars? What's your
From
expectation?
Ubisoft?
Sorry. In particular.
Third-person shooter, open world.
Third-person shooter with loot.
Yeah. I think they're going to take what Watch Dogs Legion did with AI and somehow put it into...
I hope so.
I just get a feeling, because I'm thinking of like Ubisoft third-person shooters, and I immediately thought of Watch Dogs, and I'm like, dude, take that AI and...
For the
NPC
alien names
tech.
and shit.
Dude, right? That would be fucking amazing.
Oh.
Take the shooting from
What
fucking
if they
Division.
just said fuck it and you're a goddamn? What if they said fuck it and you're a Star Wars hacker and they have Watch Dogs Star Wars? Dude, I would be on that. And it's just called Watch Dogs Empire or something. And you're like behind. I would be on that shit. Oh, dude. Now I'm all excited.
Yeah.
Won't happen.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to get. Not for our show, I'm saying, but
yeah.
I don't want to get carried away because, I've thought of like the first thing I thought of when I saw this deal was, oh, they want any company to come play. I'm like, someone at Platinum Games better picked up the fucking phone immediately.
Right.
Immediately. And been like, we will do a Dark Knight kind of game where you are just
bring back Kyle
ravaging your
Katarn.
Jedi. Yeah.
We need
like
Kyle
that.
Katarn.
Do you know who else I like? The Unleashed guy, the Days Gone actor. He does D&D. He does all the fucking D&D games with Freddie Prinze Jr. too. But he played in Days Gone. He was the main lead, and then he did Unleashed 1 and 2, Star Wars Unleashed.
Sam.
Where you were
Sam
Witwer. Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Something like that. So
a lot of those characters are cool. The fucking Kyle Katarn's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Who was in Shadow of the Empire?
I think that's also Kyle Katarn.
That's Kyle Katarn too. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is now he was the one that stole the plans for the Death Star. And that's no longer canon.
Oh.
So they'd have to rewrite him to bring him back.
Would that be as good?
They fucked up. They should have done Rogue One about Kyle Katarn, is what I'm saying.
The idea of changing the entire narrative from something that's in canon for everything from Star Wars has just continued to burn me. Because it's not just that they've said Old Republic and stuff doesn't matter. It's that they've changed the shit that we already have games for.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, if it was Kyle Katarn, then don't tell that story. Tell another fucking story.
Right.
Like, why would you tell that story overlapping when you know later, which they just did, they decide some of the stuff is canon? I was telling Maddie, in the new book, in the new novel, they actually have a force power that's very closely to KOTOR. And LucasArts actually stated that is now that force art was gone, and they've actually allowed it to be canon again.
Yeah.
And
they just want to be like, it's not all canon unless we like something. Then we might just, pick that out.
Yeah.
Can you believe, man? You believe we probably all want Lucas to return? I'm actually saying that out loud. I would have actually rather had Lucas stay. It's just me. You don't have to agree.
Well, because here's the thing: is there was almost, even if you didn't like his stuff, there was at least a method to the madness, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't like midichlorians, but like at least there was a thought process. Yeah, at least there was a thought process.
Yeah.
The thing about Lucas always to me is that he's never been he didn't direct Empire and Return of the Jedi. In fact, he had really smart people and very creative people around him to get it done. And the problem with the prequels is they just kind of let him drive and do and let everyone was a yes man around him.
There's a reason why some people have a chauffeur and some people drive.
Right.
So you need to be have a chauffeur.
If they brought George back and had him, not everyone just say yes to everything that he thought, then maybe it would have been great. Maybe. I
liked episode 1 and episode 3 personally. Episode 2 is awful.
Episode 2 is very bad. I am so conflicted about the prequels. I think they're mostly bad, but they had a plan. They had a plan from start to finish. George knew what he wanted, even if what he wanted wasn't good. The new movies clearly had no plan. That's
the new movies were like taking the end of Mass Effect 3 and making 3 movies with the same stupid ass thought process.
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. Anyway, sorry to
comments are going to eat us alive this episode.
I don't give a fuck. They're wrong. I'm right.
I'm ready
Come
for
at
it, dude. Bring it.
Oh, dude, that's the thing. That's why, because the thing with, at least with episode 1, I call it a redeemable movie, right? Like, I think there are qualities to it that are enjoyable.
Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, of course. Like, that's one of the most famous Star Wars scenes of all time. But I think you put it perfectly, Dustin. There was a plan, and all the payoff is in episode 3. You can't tell me the second half of that fucking movie. I think the first half's good, but the second half of that movie is fucking awesome.
Are you talking about Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's good. Yeah.
That is, and I know, like, the acting might be a little spotty or whatever. Fuck that.
George was never a director
get off your high
actors,
horse.
Man. Remember what Natalie Portman said? She was like, she thought she was taking fucking, like, momentary stills and just saying the words. And George was like, okay, we're done. She was all, what? He's like, that's it. That's all we need. And she's like, oh, I wasn't even acting. He's like, that's good. It's good. Because all Lucas cares about is, like, the scene, like his is that here's a world, which is why I liked his wipes. I loved his, George was good with the fucking scenic wipes of, like, one film moment to the other. And I loved in episode 2, the zoom in camera. It was like one of the best parts when they zoomed in the war in Geonosis. That was the only good part. In that movie. But they showed the cool military, like almost war zoom in. And I was like, fuck, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But I don't know about you guys. I'm just hoping this all means that we do get Old Republic. And I do feel that is what all this means, that it seems like everybody's getting looser with stuff, which to me can only be a positive.
Yes. Speak it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Speak it into fucking existence. I made a video, and I don't know if I've ever been like that, just like riddled with joy in a while. It's like I was just talking, and like my thoughts just kept going and going. You're
Are you talking about when Star Wars? The Star Wars.
Yeah, sorry, I should have specified. Yeah,
that's all right.
Because for me, it was less of the Ubisoft game. I was like, all right, this is cool. I like Ubisoft games. I think they do solid open worlds. I'll see when it gets here. But I was like, just like you said, this means that there is a wide open window for KOTOR, because they said, like, we got all our IP and we want people to come pitch us ideas. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, this part of the universe is so unexplored. It makes me sick.
It's crazy. It's legit crazy.
It's like, let's be honest. Not as many people have read the books. Not as many people have read the comics. More people have played KOTOR 1, 2, and the Old Republic MMO. And the fact that the Old Republic is still around a decade later says something, in my opinion. So I think there's got to be something new. And here's the thing.
Damn.
I'm not a business genius. I don't have a degree in it. All right. But your plan is clear, right? Test the market at the very least. 1, 2 remaster, or 1, 2. I think a remake is overcommitting if you're really testing it. 1, 2 collection remaster. Put it on Switch. Put it on PS4. Xbox already has back compat. You can sell it there if you want, though, if you're really doing enough bells and whistles. See what people think. If people buy it, go for not 3. I doubt they're gonna make 3. If they do, I will scream. Probably gonna reboot it. But just see if people give a fuck. That's what I would do, right? Because if anything, you're like, all right, we made some money. You got Asper Media, who literally overhauled all of KOTOR 2 on PC already. Mods. It's got 1440p support, controller support. I think it's got widescreen monitor support. Like that game pretty much. Yeah, Asper. Sorry, I said your name wrong.
No, you did. I was just repeating. I was just clarifying that was for sure them.
Yeah.
No, it's right.
They ported it to mobile. I mean, like, they've done so much of the heavy lifting. You just got to say, let's put this on this. And that's it. And I don't know, man. It's infuriating. I feel like I'm being spited by the universe.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
What is the 24-hour? Let's just say hypothetically, Knights of the Old Republic 3 gets announced. What does the moment and the 24 hours after for MrMattyPlays looks like? Like, are you going wild, or are you like getting drunk, partying? Are you like,
dude, I have thought about that moment. Sorry, were you done? Sorry.
No, I want to leave it open-ended.
I've thought about this moment more than I think anyone actually realizes. Like, everyone knows on Twitter, on YouTube, I think for the most part, that this is a part of my being, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, I love KOTOR. Yeah, it's almost a personality trait. But I've like had full shower thoughts full shower thoughts. Sorry, slurred
In
there.
the nude.
Yes, in the nude, where I'm just like rinsing my hair off, and I'm for like a 30-minute shower, just envisioning KOTOR reactions and if it came back. So I've pondered on this for quite some time, and I think the way I would look at it is, in my head, the dream thing would be to be live streaming some type of event and the trailer pops. I think if I was like laying in bed and I read a tweet, I'd be like, fuck, where's my camera? Because I'm about to lose it, right? I'd almost feel vulnerable. I'd feel like someone needs to see me because I'm about to explode. You know, I couldn't contain. It's a moment where like I couldn't contain that joy that's inside of me, and like I need to authentically blow up on camera. So I genuinely, okay, so I think
physically,
what would
mentally,
happen,
and sexually.
yes. I think what would happen is I would probably pop open my phone. Let's say it's a tweet, right? If it's a tweet like what we saw with Ubisoft, I pop up my phone and just film a vlog, probably of me in bed screaming. I would definitely scream. I'd have to let it out. I don't know if I upload it, but I have to capture that moment where I know I saw it and it happened. And I can always look back and be like, there was a good moment in my life.
Wow.
After that, you're talking 24 hours of partying. I'm talking about 24 hours of making fucking videos on it, because I've always said, like, I want to be your guy when that happens. Like, what, you know, because I've made dozens of videos on this obsolete part of the franchise, and they've all done well because people know, like, I'm obsessed. And, you know, I like the idea of being a part of something, and I like that I got a community who digs the fuck out of KOTOR. And so, yeah, for me, man, I'm just like, I think, yeah, just be a ton of videos. Like, normally I'm a 1-a-day guy. Dude, expect like 5 for me in the same night. Like, just, you know, here's my announcement reaction. What does this mean for Star Wars? New update. Here's this. Like, oh my God.
This is a well thought out answer. You have been, I can tell you've been thinking about this for years.
I want it more than anything. Anything.
I believe you.
Well,
when you say that.
I mean, there are other things in life I want, but you know.
But really, I mean,
I want it more than anything in gaming.
Okay.
I really.
You didn't have to put that stipulation. No one would have thought you were an asshole.
No, but you know, there are other things in life I do want more than KOTOR. But you know, when we're talking just games,
KOTOR 2?
What do you mean?
You said you wanted some things more than KOTOR. I was saying KOTOR 2. Wouldn't you rather have KOTOR 2 versus KOTOR? Because aren't you a KOTOR? Yeah, aren't you a KOTOR 2 fan versus 1?
I am now. Yeah, KOTOR 1's a classic, of course, but 2 is, I think, aged way better in its story.
Interesting.
I'm back to being sad now. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to an even sadder bunch of people, and that's CD Projekt Red.
Wow.
So, yeah. CD Projekt Red put out an apology video talking about their commitment to quality, and in that video, they also released an update roadmap. Fuck, man. Rough times for the company. There was a level of accountability in this video. I don't think that's really an opinion, because they did really openly say it's on the board of directors, and Marcin Nowinski, who recorded the video, who's one of the co-founders of CD Projekt Red, said it's on us. It's not on the developers. No one rushed it out but us. So there is a sense of accountability there, but I do believe as the video goes on, it spirals out of control. But I will leave it there. Karak, I'm dying to hear your thoughts on this one. From the update roadmap to them saying no DLC's been pushed back, but it clearly was pushed back to the next gen update in the second half. Like, just, I want you to unleash.
What the fuck? Like, the weird thing was them sort of this sort of shade thrown towards gamers, where he's like, you know, we tested it, but we didn't experience the issues you experienced. And it's like, those aren't issues we experienced. Those are the game. Like, there is, to me, an interactive experience would mean that you might interact around it. Currently, those platforms and their delivery isn't interactable. We would all have those experiences. Like, there isn't anybody, by the way, who was getting perfect FPS on the console. It was not happening at all. Yeah. And I would challenge anybody who said that they did and tell them that they should never play games again. Read a book, 1 FPS per minute, because that's the fastest you can see. That was factually what was going on. Also, what it does show also is we're going to wait a long time for the next gen patch, which sucks. They're talking about not moving stuff, but they, not moving DLC, all that. Some of the stuff that he was talking about moving. I get where he's coming from, and I get that he had to do that. The Polish government's now coming after him, which, I don't know anything about their nation's laws versus like ours, which are worse than, say, the UK's. So you have all these different governmental groups who decide what a consumer, gets. And UK's laws are better than the United States. It sounds like Polish laws are much higher than UK's laws, that Polish laws are, in particular, are pretty rough when it comes to not delivering what you're supposed to. But, I mean, I will say, it takes all these people to build a game. So it's like, I didn't want to see him looking as frazzled as he did, because he did look beat up. But I do like that he was like, dude, it was my fault, not the game, not the developer's fault. I'm the one who said to move it forward, came out there and said it. And to me, in a weird way, we can all bitch about the stupid stuff he said, but I like that they did it so we can get out in front of it and just start moving on now into the improvements. It's not that I believe everything, it's that they came out and he stated it, because I'm going to be honest, man, I didn't see Bobby Kotick or whatever the fuck his name is from Activision, apologizing for games. I don't see anybody apologizing for Avengers. Did the CEO come out and say Anthem, I saw the product lead come out for Anthem and say, we're trying to fix things. And later they stated they were doing 2.0, but you don't see them apologizing. So I did like that, but I'm trying to get positive out of what was overly just a negative situation. There's really nothing positive that I can get out of it. There's just them trying to put some lip service to what they were doing and moving on. I do like, oh, no. I got to say one thing that I thought was awesome. Dude, ignore anything else I just said. The one thing I thought was awesome was that he stated, for the longest amount of time, we've delivered games to you that you trusted, so you pre-ordered, assuming that trust, and we failed that. And I got to say, that was actually really cool, because not only does that indicate CD Projekt Red failing that actually is sort of a shot across the bow to any other company that does pre-orders. And I actually dug when he said that, not because I believed what he was saying was absolutely true or anything like that. It's the fact that when a big company like CD Projekt Red says, we failed you, you guys have believed in us, so you've pre-ordered, and we fucked up. I like it, because other developers do watch this shit. You can bet.
Oh yeah.
Multiple publishers and developers were like, like, how do we handle our failures moving forward and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I see. I like the positives you took out of it, because I think I took similar aspects out. Really the accountability in the first minute of that video was solid.
It just fell apart.
It really did, though, because, like you had mentioned, we're not seeing the same issues you did. But then a minute later, he starts talking about the review process. He's like, it went out on PC first, around the 1st of December. I'm like, that's true. He's like, console copies didn't go out till the 8th, longer than we expected, because we were trying to patch issues with the game. And I'm like, okay, so
just said you had no issues. Yeah.
You just said you didn't have the issues you had, but then the issues that we all had were in that. Like, what the fuck do you mean, man? Like, it's just one of those things where I feel like they should have kept it short and sweet, minute and a half. Hey, we fucked up. Here's the roadmap. We're gonna try to do better. But when they tried to explain it, and I think there is heart in that, right? They're trying to like convey what happened, but the contradictions show. Like it's just clear as day they fucked up, and it sucks, man, because. Yeah, I like the game, right? Like I don't know where you guys stand on it now, but it makes it hard to want to go out and kind of say like, oh, this is still a good game at the end of the day. Not to tell people to go buy it, by the way. I would recommend not at this point. But as someone who experienced it in full, got 80 hours in it, like I like Cyberpunk 2077 a lot. And it's like, fuck, it's so hard to just talk about this game and in any way that's like Karak said, kind of extracting the positives, not because we should ignore the negatives, but I just think there are good aspects of the game, especially its storytelling and its characters. And it's like, it's just really an unfortunate situation, because it could have been so different, right? It could have been the game that maybe it wasn't as next gen as we thought it would be, or as hardcore of an RPG as you really wanted for some folks, but at least like it could have been the game that was marketed, hyped, and then delivered on some of those expectations, and wasn't as razzled up as what we've seen. It's really shitty. It sucks big time.
What do you think, Dustin?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to add because I am in total agreement with what both of you said. It's just one of those things where it's like, hey, we weren't trying to take advantage of you. With the review process, we were, the game was running fine for us. And it's like,
nah.
Do you really expect us to believe that? Because you saying that, it's like your apology kind of doesn't ring true anymore, because you cannot honestly expect us to believe that. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
So to me, like at that moment,
you were mean to me.
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
It's just like, oh, we weren't trying to take advantage of you. The reality is that we thought it was great. Bullshit. No, they didn't say that we thought it was great. They said that they weren't encountering those issues. It's like, no, that simply is not the case. And anyone who, I mean, here's the question: who was this message? It's for the fans of the game that felt burnt by it. So clearly, they're not fooling anyone. Like, do they really think that statement was going to trick anybody? And I say trick quite literally. You're telling me that someone, because that video was written in a boardroom with very specific wording, right? Because especially now that they're making statements and there's possible lawsuits happening.
Yeah.
Everything that was said was approved by multiple people. So a group of people thought that we would believe that was the case. Or maybe they just thought, oh, well, we'll say this and this will cover our ass in one way or another. I don't know. To me, it's just like, I don't think it did not help my view of CD Projekt Red. It only made it worse by complete denial of the facts. Sure, he came out and apologized, which my argument is that this situation with Cyberpunk is much, much worse than Avengers or Anthem, just because of the delisting of the game from a major platform is huge. So I don't know. I just don't like this, like treating me like I'm an idiot, and all the fans are an idiot. Everyone sees through it. I don't know. It's just weird.
Right. Yeah, it's shitty. So it'll be interesting to see how people treat them in a year and a half, 2 years from now. Because, I think when 76, when we were really in the heat of that, I never thought Bethesda would kind of climb out of that, but people are starting to enjoy 76 more. Folks are really excited about the Indiana Jones announcement. There's still a lot of genuine excitement for Bethesda games, and so I know they're not directly comparable, but they're
not comparable fucking all. There's nothing going on. Dude, 76 is a completely different situation. It's a service game. This is a one-off. People are not going to fucking return to it. Nobody returns to a one-off. That does not happen. Even No Man's Sky added multiplayer and added VR and added blah, 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 and added blah, blah, blah. The difference between Cyberpunk, Matty, is that its core belief system years ago was already showing cracks. If you go back and I have multiple podcasts where I'm like, something is going on with CD Projekt Red, because what they're talking about and all these little, if you listen to some of the things they're saying, don't expect Witcher 3. It's not near as long. We want you to replay these little snippets. Half of that shit isn't even in the delivered terrible game. It's not in there. It's not in there. Like, there's no actual stuff in there. The thing, we recorded the male and the female voices because of this and that. That doesn't bother me. Those kind of things, I don't believe it, but it doesn't bother me as much. What does bother me is when people start parsing these, and I know we probably shouldn't parse out data from, PC games, because that can make you go a certain route and think certain things. But what I'm seeing in the game setup, the core is not there. The core of all the stuff they said is not there. And even if you're not hyped, what is there is such a disservice to Shadowpunk. And such a disservice to, like, guys, even Legion. I mean, dude, there's not a lot going on in Cyberpunk. I don't know any other way to describe it. There's not a lot going on. It's false choice. It's less choice than Legion, which people didn't even love. And to me, that indicates a problem with CD Projekt Red way, way, way years ago. We heard the rumor about, they just started it 2 years ago. I don't fucking care. We don't know. I'm just saying their creation process, something there is fucked up. And why would anybody return? Why would anybody return to that game? Because I don't
think, sorry, go on.
Because I'm just going to fucking rage because I'm mad about it. So, sorry.
People love it because I was being a good guy. So people are
you weren't. No, they're gonna you pissed on it. But
I think you're right though. I think I stand corrected on one aspect. Maybe they're not directly comparable in the sense that 76 was getting those concurrent updates, and you could kind of gradually see it getting better. So even if you fucking hated it at launch or you bought it, sticking with it kind of redeemed something. Whereas you're right, a one-off. I think that's entirely correct. A one-off is a lot harder to get someone to come back to, and the only way I can really see it is if they over-deliver almost. You over-deliver on, like, the expansions. You over-deliver on those updates.
Right.
And even then, right, I know it's a stretch because the reality is that, like we've said on this show a lot, people write in, and it's no offense to any of our viewers who write in, but they'll be like, do you care about, when do you think this game's coming or whatever? And it doesn't have a date. It's just a name. We're like, we don't care. We got all these other dated games that we know are coming, and we're going to talk about those. So I think, people just are going to start playing what's available now. And so, yeah, I think you made a really good point there. And I just think, if they do kind of a Microsoft over-delivering, just pretty much handing
like a
you
Sea of Thieves kind of thing. See, that's another service game. I keep mentioning service games because it seems like those are the ones that this happened.
Because the issue is that they have this multiplayer mode, and this could either result in a complete car crash of a scenario where they kind of get on their feet with Cyberpunk 2077, and then in comes this fucking microtransaction loaded multiplayer component because they just got sued up the ass. And now
they did state there will be microtransactions in the multiplayer.
They did. Yeah. And I'm with you, right? Like you were talking about previous podcasts, where you said, that something's up with CD Projekt Red. I used to get a fuck ton of hate for the videos I made on CD Projekt Red to the point where I stopped bothering for the most part. But you can go ahead, for those who don't believe me, and look up my CD Projekt Red videos. I've for like 4 years talked about how, I think they did a fantastic job with The Witcher 3. I think like the I don't want to say fanboyism, but I think the over delivering of praise got very carried away, and now they're in a dangerous situation. I thought that they talked out of both sides of their mouth. But whenever you did that, the issue was that you got fucking silenced, man. I had so many people coming at me saying like, it's just because you love Bethesda, dude. You love Bethesda and you fucking despise CD Projekt Red, and you want them to fail just like Bethesda failed, so you feel better. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about either of these companies, and I'm not trying to over defend myself, but I think half the issue has always been with Cyberpunk, the discussion. You can't discuss the game now because it's so broken. There's nothing to discuss but the technical state of the game. So you can't talk about how does the writing get better? How does the choices get better? How does the gameplay get better? You couldn't talk about any of the issues and shady shit they were doing before launch because of their level of transparency and honesty with the consumer. When half the time to me, it just looked like they were blowing smoke up our ass. But
I got to back you up on something too. I went on Twitter, not posting anything. I was reading tweets. And I saw a number of people who were trying to quell the discussion about Cyberpunk. And I was like, I mean, I get the negativity. People are like, can we quit kicking on it? I'm like, well, wait a minute. If Matty does a video, I do a video. Matty and Karak are not the same person. So why are you telling us to proactively both not do a video if both of us have had a bad experience? It makes no sense whatsoever. And I saw huge developers, PR people, who were like, it's okay, guys, you'll be fine, DM and developers, which, by the way, that is true. You shouldn't attack a developer on Twitter. It makes no fucking sense. Like the guy making trees, what are you going to do? Be like, motherfucker, your elm tree's fucked. I was like, that's rude, man. You talk to the head, the main guy who went out and apologized. But you're absolutely right. The discussion was weird. And then they did this, and I noticed most of those people shut up right away. Probably because they also didn't like exactly what was said. But you are right. I went and was reading PR people I trust, like high-level people, some high-level developers who were like, I wish people just, get off the fucking hate train, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Some people are just getting the game. And if they're unhappy. And I saw other people saying clickbait. And I was like, dude, the number of people who've made their entire channel based on positive stuff is just as high. The number of people I know who have a channel based on like Virtual Fighter because they love it is very high. So you can't just bitch about the negative stuff. People also create YouTube channels on the positive stuff. It was really disconcerting to see like this desire to shut it down. So I would agree with you for sure.
I got that a lot. They're like, oh my God, Matty, with the negative news. I'm like,
it's negative
from my perspective. Yeah, it's number one is a negative situation, but you know, I feel like, and maybe this is me being too presumptuous of my position, but like, I feel it's my duty, like, hey, there's this game I really like, and I've told you I enjoyed it a lot. You should also know what's transpiring now after launch, and the company that you may be, because you and I, and as well as Dustin, are all built on like consumer ethics. Like, yeah, it's not also about the product; it's about who the fuck you're giving your money to. And if I'm sorry, I like Cyberpunk a lot, but you're also, when you're paying $60, that's $60 going straight to the company that is lying straight to your face. This is the company that literally said, hey, if you're going to buy it on PC, buy it on GOG because we get more money from it. Like, they had openly had that.
Did they?
Yeah, they literally said that.
Dude, it still might be on the GOG website.
Awesome. That's the most amazing thing. You mentioned all this.
It's fascinating.
Dude, like, I love that. I actually didn't know that. I'm going to have to look that up.
Oh, dude, hold on. Let me screenshot it for you.
But I was going to say one issue we also have is games like Odyssey, where they add microtransactions afterwards. You can love a game day one, and then there's issues afterwards, whether it be micros, dude. Whether it be, oh, by the way, you told me this. Somebody else told me the same thing. They were playing Cyberpunk. They had bugs, but they had a lot of bugs, but it got worse with the patches. And so it was like, you know, which can happen, which for absolutely
happened to me.
Patches be rolled back for sure from companies.
It happened to me, man. I remember in my review, I was like, yeah, there were a shit ton of visual bugs. So there was a good amount of pop in. I'd have like the audience loading in, you know, behind me or whatever. Not audience, Jesus. I was thinking of our podcast. The crowd's loading in behind me.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then but I was like, oh, it wasn't, you know, like the end of the world to me. It was very noticeable though. I was like, it's very in your face. And then the 2 patches come out and I'm like, God, this game, like, it's worse now. It's worse now. And so most people who were experiencing the game were after those 2 patches. And so they'll come to us and be like, what the fuck were you talking about in your review? And you're like, well, there was this patch and it changed this and that. It's tough, dude. The review system itself is kind of getting fucking bogged down because of so much shit that changes. And we'll kind of highlight a game that's having its own kind of PC level debacle because so much shit just happens last minute. And, you know, what we play and review is sometimes, especially in the case of Cyberpunk, drastically different from what happens in the public copy of the game. And, you know, that's the thing is nowadays, I think in the more core gaming space, we're really going to start to praise these devs who hand you a copy of the game. They're like, hey, here's your review code. You got a week or whatever. And we play it. And that is representative and completely indicative of what we see when it gets out to the public. Because what's interesting is I have gotten, like, let's say Ubisoft says, here's a new Assassin's Creed game. Here's your PS4 code. That's what they did for Valhalla. Here's your PC code for Watch Dogs Legion. Go ahead, enjoy. And you play it. Never before Cyberpunk did I question, like, could another version of this game be so disastrously broken that it would completely obstruct the review process? Where I reviewed it on PC, and, you know, I personally am not in a position where I think I'm a known reviewer, but I don't think I'm like a reviewer that can demand I need a PC code, Xbox code, PlayStation code, so I can test all systems. I'm lucky if I get one. I've personally, in my review process, never really had that ability to fully verify other versions of the game. But now it's like a worry. It's, you know, when we review games even this month, it's like, fuck, man, what if the PC version's completely screwed? And it's, you know, it's not something that I've ever found myself looking over my shoulder on how shit can get twisted up. But what happened is, I saw a lot of other reviewers writing about it, is like CD Projekt Red put a lot of people in a fucking shitty position with their reviews. A lot of people understood my perspective and kind of the experience I had, and I'm fortunate for that. But I know a lot of people who weren't, and you know, got a lot of shit. And
very glad I passed up on that.
Yeah. You see,
dude, I could smell that stink because you got it, and I was like, why did the preview earlier come and then now this isn't? And I was like, and then I started talking to people and everybody had it, but like a couple people. And when I talked to those people, they were all tech people. And I was like, Uh-oh.
Really?
Why is yeah? Oh yeah. I mean, it was absolutely for sure tech. Like anybody who covered tech in depth, those people did not have the game, and I could not figure out why very particular people did not have it. And I was like, what is happening here?
So
and then about
strange.
5 or 10 days prior,
Wow.
I started getting heads up and these weird things where it was like, you're definitely on the list, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm sure I'm on the list. You guys contacted me to cover it. I never reached out to CD Projekt Red. They reached out to me. And I'm like, so what is going on here? And then it just started getting this weirder and weirder discussion. And that's when I was all, you know what? Nope. I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm going to sit this one out. Something weird is going on. And it was way weirder.
See, I didn't have those contacts. That's because I just got the code and that was it.
I think most people just got the code. I just happened to, like, I got lucky just by picking apart what I was hearing. And also, to be brutally, I had a far lower expectation than you guys did. Not you guys, because I don't know what Dustin's was. But I went into that game very, like, something is up almost 9 months ago. I mean, in fact, it was you guys telling me you played it. And some of the stuff people were saying about what they played in the preview events, and then some of the stuff I was seeing in streams, I was like,
no one played it at events.
Weird.
There were some previews. I know Skill Up did one.
Really?
I thought you got to play it at an event too, Matty.
No, I never played it.
Oh, okay.
Before.
Yeah, I do know that people got to play it at preview events.
They had one. From what I remember, they had one in-person event, and I think that they had one digital event.
They did. They had at least one digital, but it was everywhere. So depending on where you were, there were different places you could go. Almost like what happened with Baldur's Gate, where it was like I was San Francisco. I think
they played a
lot of other people were East Coast.
They played a really fascinating, not to spiral this, but they played a very fascinating game of optics when you really think about it. They gave a 16-hour preview, or a 6-hour preview, sorry, and a lot of people were like, I hit the title card, because their prologue's big, right? They're like, I hit the title card after 6 hours. This game is massive. Like, that was the big claim. And it's so interesting now, because right before launch, there was an 18-hour preview with IGN and GameSpot, and you're like, this game has to be big. Like, they were playing an optics game the whole fucking time. And then I reviewed the game. I beat it in 25 hours. Now, there was a lot of content outside of that, but once, my 80 hours were sunk in, I got most of it done. I'm like, wow.
I actually had somebody come after me about that too.
Really?
So I've talked to you guys about some stuff that happened with Cyberpunk prior to the secondary delay, I think. Secondary. Mm-hmm. This is third delay, secondary delay, where some people were allowed to check some stuff out. And somebody posted, it takes this long to get to the title screen. And I'm like, bitch, as a developer, I can put the title screen right before the credits screen. That means nothing. And fuck, my DMs exploded. People are like, dude, delete that. Delete that. And I was like, I'm not deleting that. And then I just posted like 10 more times. I was like, nope, you for sure. Because I get really angry when somebody tries to like control a tweet. I'm like, dude, I can say what I fucking want. And you can do that. Any developer will tell you. You can put a title screen. Guess what? Phoenix did it. Phoenix Rising did it. And Phoenix Rising, what did you have, 3-4 hours? But I know one of my friends got to the title screen in 25 minutes because he mainlined a couple things. Boom. He was there to the new location.
Yep.
That means nothing. And it shows, I'm just going to say it, it shows the reviewers' lack of focus and lack of attention and lack of really understanding how games are made if they are so easily duped into putting that into their discussion. That's what I believe, is that you are easily duped.
We've talked about previews. They're potentially dangerous at times.
They are dangerous. They are.
I think Mafia 3 was one of the most valuable lessons I learned. I never previewed it, but reviewing that game, I saw how the first 10 hours were amazing. And I didn't make a video about that. It wasn't until I completed the game I made a video. But like the first 10 hours, I was like, this can only go up. And I remember the previews were very good. And yeah, it went down after those 10 hours. And I still think it's a solid game, but it definitely was not at that rip-roaring, exciting, interesting pace that it was in the beginning there. It quickly fell off a cliff. And that was one of the most valuable lessons I learned, because I was like, wow, these games can really front load. And you saw the positive reviews, and I thought to myself, okay, so companies do this. They put you in intentionally hot spots of the game.
Matty, people aren't playing the game.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. there's not enough people in the industry, and I hate to fucking say it, there's not enough people playing games. And I'm not saying like we're hot, the end all be all. Yeah, I'm not trying to come across that way, although it kind of does sound that way. But part of our job and the reason we got here is because we played a fuck ton of games. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I'm not saying you got to do what I did, which is beat 3 Gears of War games in a week. I just got a lot of spare time right now.
No, but I can tell you right now. Well, like Dustin does a website and also does YouTube and also does streaming. There's a huge difference for somebody, and I know somebody who has absolutely admitted to doing this. If most websites, when they post a review, will be told, here's some B-roll, and you can take 10 pictures. You can put some pictures in your scroll. It all depends. Everybody does it slightly different. However, the stuff that's said in that review can be gleaned from previews. And I know people who have not played the game at all, and reviewed games on a website.
That's fucked up.
Because it's for sure happened. YouTube requires video footage, right? And we've had it where they're like, hey, Gears of War, don't show after level 1, please, because something blah, blah, blah happens, which that is a legitimate thing. But, and I don't require the trophies either. I just, because the trophies could mean you just win it on easy, didn't experience it, right? So it's not only that you played it, it's what you played, how you played it. That needs to be added in the context. And I have read reviews. Well, look at IGN. Remember when they got hammered big time? Because the one guy was like, this isn't even in the game. And the developer was like, dude, what? Look at what happened with the Ape game that came out from the guy who worked at Ubisoft. Ancestry?
Humankind or whatever.
Humankind or whatever. That dude went after reviewers. And he's like, they said there was this and this. That's not in the game. Somebody saw a cutscene and said it was in the game because they had not played the game. I mean, there's no mechanical way of proving it because, like I said, somebody can God cheat it. You could use God cheats on a PC. You could just download one of the hex editors. So it doesn't mean you've experienced it, but I think you can sense it sometimes. I've seen a lot of people
description
in the description.
It's really the level of context you offer in how you talk about
We're probably getting off the rails. I apologize.
No,
I'm just railing
I
against
think
the entire
I brought us
system.
to this
Not
point.
mad about
I think,
it.
yeah, it's just and I want to emphasize for this section again to our audience that we're not trying to come across like the end all be all. We're not trying to come across like we know it all. What we're trying to do is glean as much information on the inside of the industry as we can. I think that's one of the benefits of our show is the level of transparency and conversation we have with our audience. A lot of people are left in the dark. A lot of people just learned what the fuck embargoes mean with Cyberpunk because they were so strange. But for a lot of us, what we saw was not unfamiliar. I've gotten plenty of embargoes I've mentioned Gears of War 4 was the last one I got before Cyberpunk where they're like, here's specific gameplay that you can show. Yeah. And do not show what you've recorded. And what's weird is Gears of War 4 was a really solid game. And it was not buggy. It was not broken.
Wasn't that the story, though? I'm almost 100% sure that was because somebody...
Did someone leak it? I don't remember what
No,
happened.
I don't want to ruin anything. I mean, it's an old game, right? We're at Gears of War like 88 now, it feels like. But...
yeah, go for it.
I think characters change and, certain things happen and they just didn't want that leaking. Which I get. But they also asked you to label it as B-roll. See, the B-roll thing isn't as nerve-wracking as everything combined, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just want to make sure...
falling asleep over there. He's like...
we just want to make sure you're all learning about what happens in our industry, and it's not just... I think, just to cap it off, Karak, you had a really good quote. I think it was on Defining Duke, where we were talking about Xbox and potential game pitches, and you said something along the lines of, I think it was like, we don't know half the shit that goes on. Something along those lines. Like, so game pitches that we've never heard of, like half the shit.
We don't know half the shit that never comes out. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. So, yeah. And
so we're just trying to share as much of that as possible.
For sure.
With all of you.
That's how we started. I mean, anybody can be a reviewer. So if somebody's listening, they don't like all this shit, start reviewing games.
Mm-hmm.
Help us.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on into our next bit of news, which has to do with Pokemon. So some rumors and a brand new announcement in here with the thing that is confirmed, a brand new Pokemon Snap game. Now this one, I don't know how I feel about it. I gotta be real. So,
can somebody explain to me what a Pokemon Snap is versus like the last Pokemon I actually played, which was like Emerald and shit?
Oh, I can do
like
this.
What's a Snap?
You can do this, Dustin. Go.
Pokemon
go for
Snap is an on-rails game where you take
Is it the camera one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I apologize. I know this game. This is the only other Pokemon game I know. Okay.
Dude, this game's awesome.
I liked it.
The original was awesome. Yeah. So I guess I'll finish the explanation.
Yeah, go for it.
For the audience.
Know.
It's an on-rails game where you take photos of Pokemon and then you are graded on your photos for their quality at the end. You have only so many pictures, and that's what makes it good, is that you can't just spam thousands of pictures and then get, the best one. You have to be a little careful. But where it really gets interesting is that you get different items. Like there's like an apple that Pokemon can, like, you'll be able to like draw them out with food. And then there's some kind of like, I can't remember. It's like a ball. It's not a Pokeball, but it can also like react with Pokemon and make them evolve and stuff. So it's one of those games where you'll like do multiple runs and try to unlock different things. And I just gotta ask. So this new one is not like not open world, but like not open exploration. You were on rails for this as well? I don't, based on what we've seen from the trailers, it looks like it plays the same way as the original, but no, if it's like the original, then no, it's not open world. It would be on rails, but I don't know if they've commented on the nature of this new one.
Okay. Sorry.
Have you played the original at all? I'm guessing you haven't.
I played it one time at a friend's house. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I genuinely don't understand the appeal, and I'm not even talking like what I said about Animal Crossing, because the thing is, I was an asshole about Animal Crossing. I was like, what do you all like about this? But with this, I'm not trying to be. I don't get at all why people like I feel as a lifelong Pokemon fan, looking at new Pokemon Snap, that's its name, is almost like insulting. I'm like, this looks way better visually. It looks way better visually. The animations are fantastic. And you got the mainline series over there that fucking sucks. Like, it looks terrible. Sword and Shield was repetitive. It didn't evolve the franchise in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, they had that one little open area. I mean, I know completely different games, but I look at that and I'm like, what? Like, I couldn't fathom spending $1 on this. I really couldn't.
Really, Maddie?
Wow.
I really couldn't. The original was really, really fun.
If people like
the original a lot,
go for it. If people like it, go for it. I mean, no disrespect, but I just, because I just think the mainline series is so clearly in the Stone Age, and that's what should matter. You got the most popular thing on this planet, the most successful brand on this planet, literally, like financially speaking.
I think Tom Cruise is the most successful brand on this planet. I'm just saying.
Tom Cruise and Pokemon, but seriously,
catch Tom Cruise. Oh, for fuck's sakes, that would be the most amazing thing in the world. The world would explode. No, dude, Pokemon Snap is cool because I think one of the things with Pokemon is a lot of people don't want to grind and stuff like that. But I know when I was playing Pokemon Snap N64. I remember being on, I believe it was like a mine cart or a cart of some kind, and you were moving forward. It was like taking pictures, and I remember at that time, even now, I'm not a Pokemon fan. The reason why I like this is because you actually had to perform some stuff, and you weren't instantly aware of what always would work. It was in a way, I guess, for me as a hunter, it was almost like that, where it was like perfect shot. I got to get a perfect framing. I got to do this, got to do that. And I'm not saying it was in depth and I was like staying up late at night with my anime pillow. I'm just saying that as somebody who wasn't a huge Pokemon fan, it actually got me to sort of go like, oh, I get it. And taking the pictures, I think, gets people to believe they're sort of in the fucking 3D element of these creatures that usually pop out of the forest, because you see them in the forest around you and stuff. So I sort of get why people dig it.
So quick.
Wait, I just got to ask, like, my question is, when I look at Pokemon Snap, I'm like, why couldn't this be a part of the mainline series? Like, is it so demanding on multiple levels? Is there more depth I don't realize here where...
You're not being fair, Maddie.
I'm not. Okay.
Because you're so focused on the mainline and your frustration that you're letting it cloud your judgment about this game.
This is a picture-taking game. Couldn't you do that in the mainline series as well?
Oh, you mean it's like a mini game?
It's
Like
no, it's
Yakuza?
not like a mini game.
You think this looks like a
No, I
it
mean,
looks like a $60 game,
asking
but
him if that's what he means. Yeah.
So
you guys were talking about comments earlier.
Here's
I'm
the
about to
thing.
ruin this show.
fuck Pokemon mainline at this point. Okay, I'm sorry,
Alright.
but it's been
Okay.
bad, or not bad. It's been mediocre for generations now, right? And
Right.
I can already feel the bubbling of the blood in people is getting, more and more angry. But like legitimately, I think it's time to take Game Freak off of Pokemon, honestly. And that's part of it, is that this game is being developed by Bandai Namco. So if you think it looks way better, it's because Game Freak's not fucking doing it. And
yeah, and I read about that. That was the other thing that pissed me off. Sorry,
Right.
go on.
And it's not, I mean, it's not supposed to be a mainline Pokemon game. It's supposed to be a side game.
You
But
sound like every person who doesn't like side games, doesn't he? That's what he sounds like. Like Gears Tactics. I heard a bunch of people say what Maddie's
hold
saying
on.
right
no,
now.
that's slanderous.
Somebody
Hold on.
No, it's not slanderous. It's not, if it's true,
Hold on.
it's
yeah,
not
fuck
slander.
it. It's not. It's
If I
not
write
third
it.
person action. It
Hold on.
sucks.
I'm a huge fan of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. I love
Oh,
Pokemon
alright.
Conquest,
Okay.
which is
Alright.
like a war-based Pokemon game. Pokemon Stadium, probably my favorite one. I like spin-offs,
Okay.
all right?
Okay.
I like spin-offs. I gotta be honest here. And
You just
you know,
don't like
maybe I
picture
just,
taking ones.
I look at it and I don't know, man. I am happy people are happy, but I just wish I fucking understood why it's a $60 game.
Is it?
Like, let me double check. Actually, I'll
here's the
I'll
thing,
bite my
I
tongue
think
for a
anybody
second.
who
So
Hold
likes
wait,
on.
this
normal
is the most
Pokemon is-
offensive way that Nintendo and Pokemon has ripped people off.
No.
Are you asking me?
That
Are
would
you
be
asking?
I'm just saying, like,
Oh,
there are way worse $60 games that Nintendo has put out that should not have been
Yes.
$60 than most likely this. We haven't played this, so we can't be, we
okay.
don't know the case. But
I'm looking right now.
Do you use the special? Is this Switch, right? Do you use
Yes.
the special? Do you use the joystick? Like, are you using the Geo, whatever it is, for
I
taking the
hope
pics? Do you
not.
know? Does anybody know?
I don't think so. They've never stated anything like that. I can confirm, though, that according to the Wikipedia, is a first-person simulation video game with rail shooter-style gameplay mechanics. So it is still on rails, where you're in the cart.
Still on rail.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. It's really fun.
On rails,
Yes.
dude. I played those games at fucking movie theaters. Why are people paying $60 for an on rail game?
Dude, you're asking
Dude, it's
somebody
so
who would
much
say,
more
"Why are you
in-depth."
paying $60 for a normal Pokemon?" So, like,
That is 100% fair. I 100% agree
I don't like
with
the
that.
Pokemon.
Listen,
games. But
I-
I like this one. I enjoyed it.
I refuse to
I
go
will-
fully to bat for this game. It's not out yet. This game could be complete shit.
Right.
But based on if they can be true to the original, I know the original I had a great time with and thought it was really fun.
Look.
And the satisfaction of getting that perfect shot or figuring out the puzzle of how to get certain Pokemon to appear. Because I believe all 150 were in the original. And so there would be maybe I might be wrong about that.
I could get down with that. I kind of like the puzzle nature. That sounds cool. Like figuring out their kind of habits, their routines. That's lifelike, and I could fuck with that. Look, I've put myself in a corner. I've effectively been so aggressive. I now have to play it. Otherwise, I'm just a dick.
Or you have to just dig in and hate it more and just refuse to play it. Just double down.
But the thing is, I've never seen people get so
I didn't
excited.
play this game. I rated a fucking don't get. That would be amazing.
That's what you should do, man. That's what people want
You should
out of
just
us.
go the fuck out, man, and just be like, go balls out on it. Review it, but just by taking like screenshots and shit. And be like, I can tell. Don't even need to play it. It's terrible.
I mean, I'm looking at the Nintendo website description, and it literally says the new game brings the gameplay of 1999 Pokemon Snap for 64 to life. And I'm just like, does anyone want more than a 1999 game here? I mean, is that not fair to say?
Maddie, who's been talking
Like
about
Nintendo.
wanting more KOTOR this whole time.
Obviously,
That is-
from a new developer, a new studio.
All right. That's fair.
It really does depend on the price and what it delivers. I mean, if it's $60, then it better do a lot.
Oh, it's definitely $60.
think so?
Yeah.
It is. I didn't want to interrupt Dustin, but yeah, I checked on GameStop. It is $60. So
here's what the main
man.
takeaway, the final word here from me before I have to make sure that I cover myself if this game's shit. It very well might be shit. I'm saying that is very possible, but I cannot have Matty just slandering Pokemon Snap in general. Okay.
I respect your defense of
you
the
should
title.
Do you remember this game when you played it at a friend's house, like the format of like how to play?
Oh, yeah, I played it like a couple of years ago. That was my first shot
a few years ago.
Yeah, didn't play it when I was a kid.
Well, maybe you just don't like it then, and that's perfectly fine.
I am awoken. Yeah, that is what it is. Everyone else is asleep, and I am awake.
Wow.
All right. On the other end of the Pokemon spectrum, there has been a bit of an interesting report coming out. I'd actually put this on my Twitter account that I've heard that Pokemon Diamond and Pearl are going to get remakes, but no one listens to me. So other sources have come out saying that Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes are rumored for this year. This is according to fan site Centro Pokemon, which reports that the updated versions of the two titles are slated to release this year. Apparently, the games are set to be announced in February to coincide with the Pokemon's 25th anniversary. It's also been discovered that the web address diamondpearl.pokemon has been enabled. Visiting this site returns a 403 error, which means the site access is currently blocked. The updated version of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl will then launch at some point during 2021. The site also claims that they will feature classic capture mechanics rather than the updated systems introduced in Pokemon Let's Go, which I rejoice in. I did not really enjoy too much of Let's Go. All right. What do you guys make of a remake for...
Don't care.
Whoa, I didn't even finish my sentence, and you just... All right.
Don't even want to talk about any more Pokemon. Don't care. Don't give a fuck.
Whoa, Dustin,
Dude,
are you gonna attack Karak like you attacked me there?
No, because here's the thing. My jerk off analogy from earlier in the show works. Nintendo and Game Freak have jerked me off with nostalgia one too many times, and I feel nothing anymore. I'm shooting blanks.
Right.
There's nothing left. Okay. I want desperately to care about Pokemon again, but I simply cannot.
With WWE game, Yuki's or whatever, they're the developer who did WWE games, and for years people are like, seriously, you guys aren't doing anything. And then it went to 2K, I believe, and they made one of the worst games I've ever seen. But long story short,
that's what will happen.
Game Freak, yeah, it probably will.
Someone else will finally get it and it'll be worse. We'll be like, no.
Every forum I go to, whenever I do see Game Freak, I thought it was a website because the name sounds like a website, Game Freak. I thought it was. I didn't know it was a developer, and I never saw a positive thing about him.
So,
like, ever.
I do have one other comment, just to be clear. Sometimes you need like, as a personal preference, you just want the same thing in a new way over and over. And so for people that love Pokemon and love every generation and love Sword and Shield, I'm not shitting on you. Okay. I feel like if you like what's coming out and you enjoy just that process every few years, that checking out the new Pokemon and not wanting something new, that's totally fine. And I wish I could be like you and just enjoy it for what it is, but I simply can't anymore. So I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that same missionary all the time, plugging away the same way every single time with no change is awesome for those people who like that.
Damn. I was trying.
No, I was agreeing with you. I was just being meaner.
I thought Dustin was owning the sex jokes, but Karak's just like, missionary.
Dude, it's the same fucking stuff all the time. Like, goddamn. I mean, yeah. I would love to play Pokemon. I was a Neopets fan. Did you guys ever do Neopets?
Oh, I did.
Tamagotchi.
Dude, I rocked.
Neopets, dude, I probably still have a login on that fucking website, the Scientology Freak website. But Neopets, like that kind of stuff. I just think Pokemon is so dated in everything it does. It just feels not even like a game to me anymore.
I've said it since Sword and Shield actually came out, so it hasn't been too long, that I think Pokemon generally needs, because it's so popular. You got the card game, you got movies, you got shows. Like it'll stay relevant. It's not going to go anywhere. It's still going to make a lot of money. But on the game front, they need to do what they did with Assassin's Creed. Shut that shit down. Yeah. Go back to the drawing board.
They don't need to though, because the games keep selling.
Yeah, they don't need.
Oh, well, that's true too.
If they want to please me, they're going to.
Right. That's the problem. Is that our opinion does not matter, because every fucking time they put out one of these games, they will sell millions.
It's timeless, right? Because even young kids get them. So it's not like those games where Final Fantasy VII, where maybe it's like certain people remember the original. Shit's just, that's true. It does.
And that's the thing, is that there's kids that are playing the new ones, and it's new to them. So we're really not the target market even. That's the thing.
Yeah. But like, okay, I'll say this, and I think this is a fair point of defense, is that you
can't say your own point is fair.
Yes, I can, because
he believes it's fair. That's what he's trying to say.
Man. I mean,
we'll find out if it is, though.
Yeah, I'll tell you if it's fair, bitch.
Yeah, I was about to say, you break it down for me if this is fair. I think it's fair. So when I play some Pokemon games, like I think of, I think it's called Cerulean. Was it Cerulean City? No, that's not it. The place with the in Pokemon Red and Blue, the graveyard town where Pokemon are buried.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I forget the name of it. There's
Lavender Town?
Yes, thank you, Lavender Town. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, which that's my favorite in the series, because I think it was kind of like they got rid of the gyms, they did the island challenges. It was a little 3D. It was a little more 3D. It was all compacted into 3DS. I thought it was very impressive for what they were going for, and the soundtrack is amazing. Combat's still the same though, unfortunately. But in that game, there is a point where you do a side quest for a trainer, and he had to lay one of his Pokemon to rest, and you got to like go around and help him out. And I don't mean to surround it all with death, but there are dark parts of the Pokemon universe that I feel like can subtly appeal to our audience. And I'm not saying that they got to make this dark fucking Pokemon game. I know that'll never happen, nor do I expect it to happen. But even in the show, like there's an episode where you see like Pokemon are being used for war. And I just think that in the manga at times can get a little brutal. And I just think to myself that it could almost be like Pokemon can be like SpongeBob. You can have that humor in SpongeBob that as a kid you're like, goofy sponge. Or as an adult, you receive it as a sex joke. And you're like, I get that one. That was pretty good. That's great writing. I don't know why Pokemon with its either spin-offs, like Pokemon Conquest is a game where you have Nobunaga with Pokemon. That's fucking crazy.
Fucking nerd. My God.
That's fucking crazy. Wait, really?
Such a fucking nerd. God! Dropping names of fucking cities with cemeteries in them and shit like that? Nah, your point is valid. Your point's valid. I don't want to see Pokemon Edge, like you said, where, like a fucking dark-ass Pokemon. But there's some stuff there. Like Dustin was saying, I just don't know if we'll see any growth because they're not forced to.
I've wasted my breath. That's all. So
Pokemon can be dark, dude.
Oh,
Ash's mom. I'm pretty sure she's fucking Mr. Mime. Just so you know, that's a thing.
What?
Mr. Mime. There's a theory online that Mr. Mime is Ash's father.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Just leave it at that. Let the audience go and search that. I'm serious though. That's a real fan
Jar Jar
theory.
Binks is the fifth.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
Dude, George wimped out on that.
Fuck. I know.
He wimped out.
I know.
That's so funny.
That was a good fan. Like most fandom makes me cringe. Makes me a little uncomfortable. Like for my fellow human, the Jar Jar Binks as a Sith is pretty fucking tight. Like that's
I think it was true.
That was actually fun to read. Do you think it was true? I'm not going to go that far, but I will.
I think that at one point George wanted to do it, and then episode 1 came out, and he was like, "Yeah, let's just scrap that." Because of the negative reactions to Jar Jar.
It's a good fucking fanfic. Like it is amazing.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of Fallout 3. There was a fanfic that like the main villain of the series was Madison Lee, who was like the lady who was leading you to your father and helping you out, and it goes through her lore and how she actually like fucking ruins everything. Technically, it's like she kind of is the villain.
So that's like Cobra Kai, where they pretend Daniel's the bully instead of fucking Johnny in the new Cobra Kai.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
course you hadn't, because I mentioned it. If I had mentioned fucking Pokemon episode 17, fucking translated from Spanish to Japanese via AI, you'd be like, I've seen it fucking 11 times because Pokemon go to war. You're a fucking nerd. That's the difference.
To be fair, Cobra Kai is like kind of like the boomer / gen or whatever. Not our generation's show. I always make fun of my mom because she loves it.
True, but you know what's weird? Average age 24. Who watches that?
Really?
It's younger than you guys, ain't it? Yeah, average age is young for Cobra Kai.
That's strange.
But you know what? It's people getting punched in the nuts. Like anybody.
It's universal.
It's universal. The first time it happens to you, it's not funny, but your friend, shit's hilarious. Like, it's enjoyable as hell to watch somebody get hit in the ball.
Yeah, that
wow, this conversation has gone.
Yeah. You saying hitting the balls reminded me, my dog got me. Like, Revan's this tiny little 20-pound shit, and he just jumped at me, legs out, and
dude.
Square connection. I was on the floor, writhing in pain.
Did you feel like you had to throw up?
He got me, like, right up underneath, and so, yeah, it just shot up into my stomach, and, yeah, because he's a very excited puppy. He wants to play, and so he'll, like, run and jump and hope you catch him, and if you don't, well, I learned a valuable lesson the other day as he...
Headbutt to the nuts.
Not headbutt.
Hashtag Maddie's valuable lesson.
Oh, a double paw. Oh, like an anime. Like a fucking double punch in an anime.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the fuck they say in Street Fighter.
He just dropped me. Incapacitated. All right, let's talk about Resident Evil. Enough Pokemon.
Wow. No. As the nerd has to go to a normal game, he's like,
yeah. Let's just talk about this bullshit. So there is a Resident Evil showcase that's coming. Capcom has announced it. They say on Twitter, don't miss the Resident Evil showcase on January 21st at 10 p.m. GMT, which is, for those of you on the East Coast, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, I think it is. Actually, hold on. Let me check my 21st. That is on a Thursday. Apologies. They say, join us on a guided tour of Resident Evil Village, including a new trailer, first ever gameplay, and lots more Resident Evil news. Now, we had a podcast episode last year that was headlined by the gigantic Capcom leak. And within that Capcom leak, we saw 4 different Resident Evil games, which were Resident Evil Outrage, Biohazard Apocalypse, which Biohazard is the Japanese name for it, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Resident Evil Hank. Now, I think the most interesting one is, of course, Resident Evil Outrage, which on that leaked schedule said it was due to release Q4 2021, whereas Resident Evil 4 was Q4 2022, and Q3 2023 was Biohazard Apocalypse, and then Resident Evil Hank was Q4 2024. So, a lot of Resident Evil coming our way, but presumably we're going to learn more, obviously they said, about Village, but we're going to, more than likely, they said other Resident Evil news, learn about Outrage. First and foremost, let's check the gauge here. What's the hype level here for Resident Evil Village?
High.
High. All right,
for me.
Cool. Me too. I'm with you.
Mainly because I just thought that what they did with Resident Evil 7 in first person was amazing. I love the fact that game's first person. I know there was a lot of people that were concerned since it was so new for Resident Evil to do that, but for as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake was, and I didn't end up playing 3, but I don't want to say it felt like a step back, but I was like, there was something really special about that being in first person. So I'm just really excited to get back to that, honestly.
I will say I like the first person in Resident Evil 7, but I have trouble connecting to its characters. Like I something about playing in third person let me connect more. Obviously you're seeing them, but I don't think outside of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I kind of like the corniness, the kind of like Michael Bay style of Resident Evil 5. So I like that story. But oh no, Karak. What did I do?
First, I was going to say, sorry, Dustin, I was wrong. 24 was the average age of the character actors that act in the show. Aside from Ralph, Netflix doesn't release viewer data. I was like, for some reason that didn't sound right. I apologize. So I do not believe Resident Evil 7 was a Resident Evil game until very late in development. I believe that the reason why you couldn't connect was because your main character is not what you're supposed to connect to. You're supposed to connect to the wife. And yeah. And in fact, I would say most of the story just feels like that. And I liked her as a character. Like, I felt closer to her and understood that character more than any other Resident Evil, even my own characters. In fact, I think the goofiness of Resident Evil stops me from connecting a lot of times. So for 7, I firmly believe that was not supposed to be a Resident Evil for a long period of time. And the rumors have always been that, whether we'll ever find out if that's true or not. I don't know. All I know is fucking 7 is incredible. Like, I don't care. It is a Resident Evil because they call it that. Great. And it's got
good survival
some stuff
game
at the end that it's fucking awesome, man. And it introduced VR to the masses. Sony's done their utmost to make sure that doesn't happen on PC. But on PSVR, if you haven't played this game, like, I don't know what to say, man. Resident Evil 7 will probably be one of my, if I had top 20 games, it would for sure be in for the gen. Top 10, it's very highly placed. Like, it would probably be in the top 10. It's so I can't wait. I mean, the thing about Village is, I don't know what you guys know. I don't know if you guys have watched stuff. I've purposely been like, oh, it's called Village. That's pretty much where I'm at. Because I did see those rumors about it not running well on certain hardware and stuff. And I'm like, dude, we don't need to fucking alpha of an alpha right now. Like, who gives a shit? I just want to see it Thursday. Is it Thursday next week?
Thursday. Yep. Sorry. I was the one who messed that up. Yeah. It's Thursday.
Oh, I apologize. I'm excited to see whatever we do see.
Yeah. For me, I think of that game very fondly because I played it 3 times, and that's pretty rare nowadays to kind of hop back into the game multiple times. But yeah, I did like a new game plus. And then I tried I think it was called Madhouse difficulty, which I think was one of the coolest parts of that game, was changing locations of items and that type of stuff. It kind of gave it a new feel. So I really liked Resident Evil 7. I recently watched a friend, he was like streaming it on our server, and I watched him play it through and just kind of reminisced a little bit. So it's fresh in my head, and it's such a strong game. It's so solid. It's so well made. I do agree with the rumors that I don't think that was a Resident Evil game for a while.
Yeah, didn't it feel a little like, hey, let's throw a character in at the end? Call it Resident Evil.
I mean, yeah, because otherwise, I mean, it felt like a reboot because it was just like a new set of characters, new story, everything.
Let's be honest. One of the best parts in gaming is the garage in the car. That encounter with the fucking boss, and he gets in that car, and you're like, what is happening right now? It was so good.
For me, I'll always remember taking out my switchblade and slashing him and watching my knife like cut a clear line
across
his shirt. And yet you like saw his shirt rip, and I was like, dude, that's insane detail.
Mine is when he busts through the window or the wall. He Kool-Aid Mans through the wall. You're coming around the corner and everything's quiet. You can hear him, and then he just fucking doesn't even care about walls. Like, that's when you know a bad guy's a badass, when he doesn't use the door and it's open. He's just like, I'm gonna walk right through this fucking wall, bitch. And he comes through, and I remember in VR just being like, what the fuck is happening? Like, it was so good. So good. So many parts of that game had great parts. I mean, had great moments.
I'm very excited for Village because the idea of Resident Evil being set in a village, I feel like that's more connected to its DNA. I think of Resident Evil 5 had some villages. 4 definitely did.
4 is Gothic, right? Isn't 4 the Gothic one?
There's the castle part.
It was in a European castle. Yeah, it was in like European with the
Yeah, I feel like it connects a little bit more. And so the only interesting thing is, I don't know if it was like a dream or something, but in the trailer for Resident Evil 8, I saw Chris shoot Mia, and I was like, well, there goes that. There goes
I do
that
remember that,
character.
something like that.
Yeah, because I saw that. I was like,
I don't think I've seen it.
If it was a plot point that was major, I was like, why would you show that? And if you did kill her off, why would you do that? So I have a couple of assumptions, but I don't want to speculate too hard on it because I'm not like a Resident Evil expert by any stretch.
Now, Maddie, you read off some of that leaked Capcom stuff. It said the Resident Evil 4 remake 2021 or 22?
22. Q4 2022 was according to the leak.
So is it announcement time or tease next week? I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying developers love announcing shit really early.
I would like to see it, but it might be a little early, personally.
I would agree. I'm just saying it's a possibility, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think it is. It depends how... The thing with these showcases is we never really know how long they're going to be, what to expect content-wise. Like, is it going to be a 15, 20-minute showcase? Here's some Resident Evil Village gameplay.
Yeah, right.
And then that's really... Yeah, like... And then, we got a couple... Like, this Resident Evil Outrage is seemingly next. I'm reading about it right now. I'm trying to look up what it is.
While you're reading about it, do we think this will be VR? Do we think Village will be VR?
You gotta hope, man. Between Hitman 3 and that, you gotta hope.
Oh, dude, yeah, but if Hitman, well, let's hope it's not PSVR exclusive.
Yeah, I'm reading right now. Dusk Golem. It's a grain of salt post on Reddit. Dusk Golem said Resident Evil Outrage from recent Capcom leaks is a working title for Revelations 3.
Oh, is that a brand that people hold close?
I like Revelations.
That was going to be my question too.
Revelations is awesome because the first one's on a ship and the second one's like a sequel kind of to Resident Evil 5.
Oh.
And then I don't know what they do with Revelations 3, but I'm reading right now. It says, taking the reset era, Dusk Golem reiterated that Outrage is Resident Evil Revelations 3. And even though the game might not be called that when it is releasing, that is what it is for all intents and purposes. He also stated he received, quote, 100% confirmation, end quote, that the game is a Nintendo Switch focused title, though it won't be exclusive to Switch. Nintendo's hybrid seems to be the lead platform during development, given that Capcom are using a heavily modified version of the RE engine for the upcoming Switch-exclusive Monster Hunter Rise. That doesn't seem too far-fetched. In subsequent messages, Dusk Golem said that the game is going to be a survival horror game in the style of Resident Evil 7 and the Resident Evil 2 remake, and that even though it does have action elements, it'll still be horror-focused. Well, this is just rumor stuff, just so everyone knows. But it seems like they might be announcing a Switch title for Resident Evil on top of
Resident Evil streaming, probably, right? Where they stream, because they've got Resident Evil already, and it's a streamed game.
Yeah, according to this insider, it's a title that was made with Nintendo's hybrid kind of as the lead platform, and then it's going to other places afterwards.
You guys saw Hitman 3's on Switch, right?
I just found that out.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Did they announce that months ago?
I don't know. I think
they announced it within the last month and a half because Control got a cloud edition as well. So I don't think it was.
So is it cloud for Hitman 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's a good question. If it is, that's maybe we talk about it in a different podcast, but it's pretty cool to see them stepping up with cloud because you've got a handheld and it's still doing some pretty cool stuff. I think that's a plus.
Yeah, that's the theory around Switch Pro. There will be Switch Pro exclusive games, and the if you can play them on a non-pro or buy them from the shop, they're just streamed. I don't know if I believe that, but I saw that thrown out.
I don't know either, but that's possible, right? We've seen
Hitman 3 does have a cloud version.
Okay.
So
Oh shit. Okay. Yep. By the way, Luna, here's my quick review. Sucks balls, donkey balls, huge, sweaty ass, dirty, empty donkey balls. Don't download it and use it yet. Yeah.
How empty?
So just the skin?
Just the skin.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty fucking bad. Like it's not a good streaming service.
I tried it on my iPhone. It was not very good.
Yeah, a lot of lag. A lot
props
of
for even trying it. I have no interest outside of getting Game Pass on my phone, which is apparently coming like in the next couple of months.
You have an iPhone?
Yeah, it's already out for Android and stuff. But outside of that, I have no interest in this streaming gaming stuff. So,
what do you guys think about Resident Evil? Back to Resident Evil. What do you guys think? What's the Horde game? Or you called it something else? Onslaught, Horde, Grotesque.
Wasn't there Resistance? Was that it?
No, you had another
three-player?
title on there that you're reading from the leak.
Oh.
And it sounded like an attack. It was like you said Resident Evil, and then you said like Resident Evil Horde or
I X'd out the tab. Hold on. Let me,
Onslaught. Oh, whoops, sorry.
No,
Dustin, you don't remember what it was?
No.
It was like one of the. Okay, shoot. I was going to ask because
here,
it sounds like an action game, it sounds like a multiplayer game or something.
Umbrella Chronicles 2.
Please no. What's the Metal Gear card one that fucking sucked horrible? It came out. It was like Cards and Zombies. There was zombies in it. And it was
Metal Gear card, like a.
Well, there were cards in it as well, but it was mostly a zombie game, and you're building stuff.
Oh, Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, have you played that?
I played when it was in beta, just because it was free, and I was like, "Yikes!"
It got such bad reviews. Was it as bad as they said?
Probably not. I'm guessing there's just some like Konami hate boner,
Resistance.
Yeah. Maybe not though. Maybe it is terrible. That's just kind of the impression I got, is that people will never accept Metal Gear soon after Kojima was gone. But maybe it is bad.
I've heard bad
What
things.
were you saying,
Not even just
Maddie?
fans,
did
but-
you find the Resident Evil thing?
Outrage? Was that it?
Yes. So
that
what's
was
that
the
gonna
so that was apparently according to a Resident Evil leaker, that is a Switch game that is going to be put on other consoles, and it's apparently like Revelations 3.
Okay.
Although it may not be directly called that. So we will see. That is on, once again, the 21st of January. So pretty soon. All right. Let's keep on moving along here.
I don't know if you will
news.
be. I'll be co-streaming that, by the way. I don't know if you will be.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that. I'm looking forward to getting back into streaming between Fallout Frontier and this and other games coming out. I definitely want to get my streaming chops back because it has been a while. All right, next on our list of news here, Harry Potter's Hogwarts Legacy has been delayed. The Harry Potter RPG, I should say. Sorry. So there was a statement via the Twitter account, and that post reads, let's have Twitter load on my iPad. We would like to thank fans from around the world on the tremendous reaction to the announcement of Hogwarts Legacy from our Portkey Games label. Creating the best possible experience for all of the wizarding world and gaming fans is paramount to us, so we are giving the game the time it needs. Hogwarts Legacy will be released in 2022. That's really it for the message, but a lot of people around the industry have said that this is one of many upcoming delays, because kind of with 2020, even though it was a weird year and it was tough to develop games, a lot of them were close to being done. So a lot of them were able to squeak out. They were able to figure things out, finish those games. Whereas 2021, we may see more delays for games. So I'm not really hyped on this game, other than I know my girlfriend is a huge Harry Potter fan. Some of my best friends are, so I'm excited for them, and I'm excited to play with them, but for me personally, I don't really care. I can wait for this one. Are we in the same boat on that?
I don't know. I'm excited to check it out because I do like Harry Potter. I don't consider myself a mega fan or anything. I've read the books. I've watched the movies. It had its time in my life, but I don't know. It's one of those not a story that's so not surprising. It almost doesn't even feel like news to me.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not worth talking about. I'm just saying it was so
Right.
inevitable. I think the bigger conversation is about this being potentially the first of many delays.
Yeah. Yeah, because we saw how far back Halo Infinite got pushed, and I think a lot of people thought that may have been like a testament to how much they were overhauling the game, but is it just a reality of how game development is now? I know Game Informer is working on a piece on how this pandemic is impacting development, and we've seen multiple accounts come out with, obviously it slows things down. CD Projekt Red attested to the idea that they used to have a war room where, towards the end of development, they'd have everyone kind of checking in and out of parts of the game to wrap things up. So I think this is clearly drastically different, and it is going to hurt games. And I would imagine it's not too far-fetched to say that some of these games will get pushed out. But I think it's ones that, like Hogwarts Legacy, to me, when I first saw it, I was like, this doesn't look like it's coming out soon. I don't know what it was. You know, sometimes you get that feeling. I don't know. It was just an inkling. I was like, this doesn't look like it's coming soon. There was no rhyme or reason. It just felt like it was a ways off. Close to its chest kind of trailer. That's how I felt. But Karak, are you at all upset by this delay? Or there's just you're in the camp of who gives a fuck?
This isn't the game you and I were interested in from Warner Brothers, is it?
This is the one that we talked about that had that huge leak like 3 years ago.
Fuck yeah, I'm interested. What the fuck are you talking about? I thought you were interested. Dude, you and I were bros over this. How did your interest suddenly go away?
I think it's just because they announced it and then it just disappeared. I thought when they announced it and they just had nothing more to say on it, I was like, okay, this game isn't as... Because we saw that huge leak and we were like, oh, dude, it's got to be coming soon. Whenever it is announced, it's got to be coming quick. And then they announce it, it's revealed, it goes away. Now it's a huge delay. Like, I'm surprised there isn't more of a worry for the game, but I could just be alone on that.
So this is the Batman third-person Hogwarts game that we were joking about, where I was like, God, it looks like a little bit like a Batman game or something, right? Where we saw the trailer and they were casting spells and...
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. It was the one that we've talked about for multiple shows where there was like the leaked gameplay and we were like, where the fuck
Personally,
is it?
for me, super stoked. Because that's the kind of gameplay I really have enjoyed. Batman, the idea of playing Harry Potter and maybe making your own wizard and picking a school. Fuck yeah, man. Like that to me would be awesome. Like I really dig Harry Potter. I think it's very cool.
It's up my alley. So
yeah.
As we see more, I'll probably get excited. But
like you said, it is delayed, so I guess. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and we don't know what we saw. That was more like a placeholder kind of thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you guys a related/unrelated question? Speaking of delays, because someone brought this up to me on Twitter today, and I thought, do you guys think that Ratchet and Clank got delayed internally?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that. That's supposed to be coming out.
Yeah.
Literally from Insomniac during the Gamescom opening night live thing, they said it was coming out during the launch window of the PS5.
Certainly, I think we've passed that.
So I don't know. I was just thinking about that today. I was like, okay, it's supposed to come out launch window. Maybe that means the first 3 months PS5 is what they consider launch window.
Oh, Christ. Is that the time? Is that the one where he leaps through different portals?
Yeah.
Dude, it's gone from my memory until you just now like that. Yeah, you're right. That is delayed then. That's crazy. I would never have missed that game. Like you were right. It was supposed to be in that launch window and they sort of announced that it was launch window early, which I think a lot of people did think was going to be delayed. So yeah, I would say for sure.
And we got a launch date for Returnal in March, and we don't have a launch date for Ratchet, which was supposed to be launch window. So,
part of me's not surprised when you had Spider-Man PS4, then Miles Morales, and now this. Like, I'm sure internally they may have even been like, "Hey, let's space this out." You know, Miles Morales did really well. There's no rush to get another game out. But yeah, I think that definitely did get delayed to some extent. Not like, oh, it's in trouble. But I think it's getting pushed back a little bit. Because I feel like, at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is probably a March, April game. Which it still could be. Just is there enough time to market it, get it out there?
They might be feeling... It could be a delay in that they are still struggling to get consoles, available. And so they're thinking, why the fuck would we release what would be...
to a smaller segment.
Yeah, I mean... It's definitely, I would say, a small... It's not a system seller in the way a Red Dead Redemption or something is, but that's one of those games that, like, pushes someone over the edge. Is like, oh, this Ratchet game is supposed to be really cool. My kids are going to love that. Maybe I should buy a PS5.
If you can't get a PS5, then why not hold it until you can? Yeah. That makes sense.
For me, man, I can at least say, like, I always talk about the difference between being a YouTuber and buying games and like how you approach buying games, like day one. Like you always want to be there playing that game immediately. Versus if I were just like a straight up consumer, I was like working a job as like a vet or something like that. And I was playing games like for me, Ratchet would be that game that pushes me over the edge because I fucking love Ratchet, man. Replayed those games so many times. I beat the remake from 2016 like 4 times. I platinumed that game and everything. I think it's so much fun.
You don't like Crash though? You like that and you like Sly, right? But you're not a fan of Crash.
Crash I enjoy. Crash I enjoy.
Okay.
I'm not like crazy about the run straight jump kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The first one tested my willpower though when I played.
Dude, 4 would kick the shit out of your willpower. So don't
hard.
Dude,
really
it's
hard.
funny. I'm glad somebody else mentioned that because that was one of the ones where they were like, "Hey man, you want to review it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man." And I was like, "Is my fucking entire capture setup like 60 seconds of lag? Like I'm getting my anus just stomped." And and then I talked to Dreamcast guy. I was like, "Dude, behind the scenes, I was like, dude, is this game as fucking rough as I think?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love it, but it is beyond rough. Like it is hard as balls."
I get that. Yeah, I have to make the dive on that, but apparently I need to play Cuphead first. That's what a lot of people are saying for my next tough game.
Dude, Cuphead is amazing.
Yeah.
I love Cuphead.
Pretty amazing, and I think Cuphead would stress you less. It's not just you run and right and left. Yeah, Cuphead, and you can play with a friend and stuff. Yeah, I do. I think Cuphead would be up your alley.
All right. Well, that brings us into our last bit of news before the patron questions. Just a quick one. We got a big game coming out soon. Hitman 3 looks fantastic. For those who aren't aware, Hitman is doing something pretty interesting where, let's say you own Hitman 2, you're allowed to carry over that progress into Hitman 3. You carry over the maps. Same thing with Hitman 1. That stuff carries over into Hitman 3. What's interesting, however, is Epic Games bought the exclusivity on PC to Hitman 3. So let's say you got Hitman 2 on Steam, and then you've got Hitman 3, you're buying it on Epic Games Store, you can only get it on PC. There is going to be a conundrum here for you. So I will try to summarize it to the best of my ability. Listen closely because this is really important. IO Interactive says that due to various circumstances out of their control, it's impossible for PC owners of both games to link up these accounts and bring their locations into Hitman 3 as intended. What that means is if you got Hitman 2 on Steam and then you buy Hitman 3 on Epic Games Store, their big promise was the Hitman 2 levels come over. That cannot happen. So their workaround of a sort for 2 weeks following launch is this. Let's say you buy Hitman 3 on the Epic Games Store. You get the Hitman 1 Game of the Year Access Pass for free. This will be for 10 days to those who buy it or pre-order. So you get the Hitman 1 maps and the items with Hitman 1 and all that shit. Next, owners of Hitman on the Epic Games Store, Hitman 1, including those who picked up the game for free when it was available in August, get a free Hitman 1 Game of the Year Access Pass upon buying Hitman 3. So either way, if you already own the game, or if you've bought the game and it's been sitting there, you're going to have Hitman 1 stuff. What's really weird is they say Hitman 2 standard and gold access passes will be offered at an 80% off discount for 14 days, 2 weeks after Hitman 3's launch on the Epic Games Store, and will be continued to be discounted regularly. So even if you own Hitman 2 and its maps, you are still going to have to pay for them on the PC front. This does not affect PlayStation or Xbox. So let's say on Xbox, you own Hitman 2, you buy Hitman 3.
All right.
No, you're good. You're going to have those maps carry over. So it's just on the PC front here. And this is because of the Epic Games Store exclusivity. Now, Karak, you brought this to my attention. So, of course, I'd like to start off with you. Such a great idea, right? Bringing the maps over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of getting caught in a kerfuffle here.
Yeah,
I know it's a little bit
one of the better parts of Hitman is I even described it in my preview. It's like, oh, you can play with your weapons in Hitman 2 if you unlock them in Hitman 3, and any of the weapons like that are special for Hitman 3, they've actually gone back and made sure they work in 1 and 2. And the idea that 2 of all things, like it's even weirder because it's a leap. You can get 1, but you can't get 2. So, I mean, Epic swimming in cash. They're the ones who bought the exclusivity deal. And they're saying that as intended. So people who pre-ordered, I'm sure they're going to be able to cancel their pre-orders. But the as intended thing bothers me even more because it's like, how did you not figure this out prior?
Yeah.
Additionally, from what I'm reading, and you can correct me, it states you need to go online on their website to do this. And when you do that, you sign in, and that's your your Hitman account, and it'll tell you what you've done. Weirdly enough, if you've got Hitman 2 data on there, would that not indicate you own Hitman 2? No, it would indicate you've played it, so maybe you borrowed it from a friend. But you would think Epic would be like, whatever. If it shows that you played a certain amount of Hitman 2, maybe we'll give it to you free or something like that. This 80% deal, and then the soft language, it'll be continually like at a lower price. What does that even mean? What's continually?
It's still
mean?
Money, right?
It's still,
but
yeah,
I don't
but
think
just
this is Epic though.
say it's 10%. No one knows. I think it's WB.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That?
But I mean, the end result is we're still stuck here. So it's like
right.
Epic should have figured that out because Epic did buy the exclusivity. So when Epic bought the exclusivity, you would have hoped their lawyers would have said, how are we going to get 2 into this? But but I agree with you. I think the sticking point is WB. Most likely. Or nothing.
Yeah.
The toughest thing to find is...
They're not easy to work with.
The toughest thing to find is how much is the DLC?
Well, how much is Hitman 2 currently?
Because you'll buy the maps. Like, you could buy, like, Sapienza.
I've seen it for 14, Dustin. As low as 14. 9, actually, for a little while, I think.
Hitman 2 Standard Edition on Steam is still $60.
Oy.
So, do they mean 80% off $60?
No.
They mean 80% off the Hitman 2 DLC.
Okay.
Inside your game.
We have to imagine that's pretty cheap then.
I'm trying to find it. That's the thing. I'm trying to find, like, I'm typing in Hitman 2 DLC.
Let's say they sell 2 for $60. What's 80% of $60?
I'm really
let's say it was $60. I'm really if it was 10% of $60, it'd be $6. So it's going to be anywhere. It's going to be 10 or less.
Yeah, I think that'd be a safe ballpark.
But they said that only when it's on sale. That's the problem. They didn't say it will always be. They were like, yeah, I don't know. It's a mess, I guess, is all that matters.
There's so many details we don't know. So as with most things, we can only speculate. Yeah. But I guess my caution is I think it's easy to right now be really mad at IO Interactive, but putting ourselves in their shoes, and let me know if you guys think I'm off base on this. I'm just trying to think this through. IO Interactive, they went independent from Square Enix, and they partnered with Warner Brothers to get Hitman 2 made. And this third game, they are now fully publishing themselves. So we've heard from other developers in the past that doing the Epic exclusivity is a safety blanket, right? And so for them going out on their own and publishing this game, I could understand that they would want to have some cash up front. Would make things be a lot less scary, potentially. Right. Now, this is where the speculation comes in, is that maybe they were like, well, we can sign this deal and get some padding, especially with us going independent. This is going to be essential. But we're going to have to figure out a licensing agreement for the second game. So maybe they didn't know what the details were at the time. Maybe they did, and they thought, you know what? The negative hit is going to be worth the money that we're going to get from the exclusivity agreement. You know what I mean? Is this making sense?
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't care.
I was going to say, it's
as
good
a consumer, I don't care, but I agree with you. I think everything you said is probably pretty close to accurate.
I think it's good that, for people who are like me, I don't own Hitman 1 or 2. So for me, seeing like, hey, if I buy Hitman 3, I at least know I'm getting Hitman 1's maps right off the rip is good. But so if you're, I guess the way I look at it is if you were just buying into Hitman 3 and this kind of owning 1 and 2 is inconsequential to you, you are making out pretty well. But if you do own them, you're being told to spend more money, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's tough because, like, yeah, they have gone independent. The safety blanket, I do think, is a necessary. I don't even want to call it evil. I just think it's necessary. And I think what happened is they had a very pro-consumer promise in mind. Like, hey, if you already own the game, all this shit's coming over. And it is still. It's not like they've walked back on that. It's just on the PC front. I think they almost put the cart before the horse.
I think they messed up the messaging for sure. And I don't know whether it was, maybe it was unintentional, like I said. Like, they really thought that it was going to work out. And then when maybe they were in negotiations and it just simply, they couldn't do that anymore, which again, I'm with Karak. It's like, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, the consumers that already bought Hitman 2 on PC are getting fucked to not horribly, but they are being asked to spend more of their money for something they already own.
Oh yeah, now it's not a $60 game; it's like a $75, maybe.
Right.
And
it's one of those things too, where in one sense, I remember, like, maybe this is a bad comparison, but when Rock Band 2 came out, you could import your Rock Band 1 songs, but you had to pay $10 to pay for the licensing of the music.
An extra licensing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not abnormal that to pay a licensing fee. It's about the messaging that they were like, oh, all your Hitman levels will come over. Unless you're on PC, then specifically your Hitman 2 levels. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people who like are hopping into Hitman for the first time are probably hyped because they're like, all right, I can buy Hitman 3, get the first one free, get all the maps discounted, and boom, I've got all 3 of them now. But if you do own them, then yeah, it sucks.
Right.
So, because then you got to ask yourself the question, do I like Hitman enough to spend $70-something instead of 60?
Right, which
game
is
prices
still
sit there.
Is still cheaper than the new standard.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. That's why
So,
I quickly clarified. I was like, wait, I forgot we're in a $70 age now.
I would say that it sucks, but it's not like they're really dicking you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not aggressive right now. We'll see how the community responds. This kind of just broke as we were setting up to record
terribly.
The show. Yeah. Terribly being received, you mean?
Dude, like, I was in my podcast when it exploded on their Reddits, and it was like every Reddit, and there were fucking people just freaking the fuck out. So, like, it's obviously not handled well. And I think the reason why it's not is because this is a break from how they handled 1 and 2 as well. And so it's just split. It's just weird. It's just it's one more thing to worry about in this. And a lot of us who went into the preview were told this was not going to happen. So
right.
So I just saw on their website, it still says that all locations from Hitman 1 to Hitman 2 can be imported and played within Hitman 3 at no additional cost for existing owners. So like I said,
and then they have a separate FAQ, which is like 3 pages long. Describes all the steps you need.
I did read that. Yeah.
I'm not to be clearer to the audience. I know you guys wouldn't think this necessarily. I'm not trying to defend them saying what's happening is okay and right. I'm just trying to explain to me what the reason is behind it. It's, still shitty.
Mm-hmm. We shall see how it all unravels over time. That is it for our news. We got a handful of patron questions, and then the show is finished. So let's get into it. You all can obviously submit, for those of you who are listening, to support our Patreon, patreon.com/MrMattyPlays. You can hop right in and leave your questions, just like Carlton Dexter did. Hello, I asked these 2 questions before Christmas, but I don't think it was answered, probably because I've mentioned ICE. However, my questions are, what other games, you all know the obvious one, have you looked forward to playing, but was disappointed with on the day 1 version or the final version if it wasn't fixed?
We did answer that.
We did answer this one?
Yeah. I think we've answered that like 3 or 4 times, but we can answer it again. I'm just saying that one was definitely answered.
Okay, then apologies. Let me just
no, it's all right. You guys can, because Dustin wouldn't have been here, actually. Because Dustin was gone, or was it you that was gone? Yeah, one of you guys, because I remember distinctly answering that and trying to figure out date, because he said day 0 or day like 1 or something. I remember finding that language a little different and trying to navigate around it. You guys can answer.
We did answer this because I said Batman.
Yeah.
On PC.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Arkham Knight.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I couldn't
saw the
remember.
11th and I thought, okay. All right, next is Coach Blue. Hope you guys had a great holiday. I wanted to give Karak a public shout out. As an English teacher, using precise language is really important. And even though it's my job, I am guilty of not doing so on occasion. Our society has an odd tendency to blindly accept words being used incorrectly or in the wrong context. Karak's willingness to stop a conversation and make people think about the words or phrases being said is very valuable to a discussion, especially so that disinformation is avoided. Love listening to all three of you. And that's actually amazing because you literally just fucking did that with the day 1, day 0.
Right.
So there you go. Yeah, I think I've inherited a little bit of that, Karak. I look at language a lot differently since I started talking to you a couple of years ago. Because when I first started talking, I'm like, what does he mean? And then I realized you pronounce things differently.
No, I love that. You should have just left it at that. What does he mean?
This guy's an idiot. And I just walked out.
I love it.
But yeah, no, then I understood how you were thinking. I was like, you know what? I feel like that's a good approach is, taking the words as matter of fact as possible. Dow writes in.
Sometimes, but
it is, but that's what it's like, man. Dow writes in. When do you think PS5s will become easily available? Nice simple one. I'm shocked. That was a one sentencer.
Yeah, the answer is not near simple.
No.
Question simple.
I think it'll be a while.
What do you guys
still.
think? A year before they're like completely out and about? Because Microsoft and Sony are both having complete issues with AMD.
I'm gonna say early 2022. You can walk into a store and grab one. I don't think in this year you're gonna be able to stroll in and grab one.
I think you'll be able to get one this year if you're looking at because right now people are looking and they can't get it. I think eventually this year, if you are actively looking, you'll be able to get one. But Maddie, like you said, I don't think until next year, I think you'll be able to stroll in to Target and get one or whatever.
Yeah, man. I can't see it, especially because like PlayStation put out a whole thing saying don't camp outside. We're not going to put them in stores. And so I think if you hear word of right now of them in stores, people are going to flood, and you don't want that. So I think for a while you won't even see them really that often physically in stores or sitting on shelves. Because even if like someone might just walk by and be like, I got one, I'm going to buy this one just to resell it. And the problem continues. So I think it'll be some time before they can really circulate. But I know currently it's outpacing the PS4 in its launch window. So a lot of people do have them. There is still a lot of demand to answer. So we'll see how PlayStation does that. But Dow, I think it'll be some time. But I think, Dustin, to piggyback you a little bit, I do think if you actively look, you'll be able to find it.
Maddie, you can piggyback me anytime.
Hell yeah. All right. Straw Hat Ninja. Hello, panel. That is an interesting way of addressing us. I don't think I've ever seen that. I was just wondering if you guys use headphones a lot when you game, and if so, what kind do you have? I just bought a pair of Sennheiser HD 660S, and they are fantastic. Keep up with the great work. I use these right here, these X Clouds. I love these. I like good sound, but I'm a lot about comfort. I will pay a premium, which I didn't for these, but I will pay premium if a thing can just literally sit like a cloud on my head and just kind of float there. That is the most important aspect to me. So personally, that is what I rock with right now. But I used Astro A40s, and I use them in my studio, and those have like a really strong band that like can crunch your head over time. Those are the two pairs of headphones I use.
When I'm on my PC, I'm always using these, and I need to replace them because if you're on the video version, you can see that they are like peeling
yellow,
and they're pretty bad. But I did replace the ear cups, but they still work fine. So I refuse to replace them if they still work well. But these are Audio-Technica AT100. They're like $100 to $150, but they're fantastic studio monitor headphones. Now, here's a question for you guys. Maddie, you were talking about comfort. When it comes to certain gaming, not just gaming, any scenarios, sometimes I'm willing to pay for convenience. And so these new Sony headphones for the PS5, you just pop in the little dongle in the back, and they work within the system UI. There's no fucking around. You know what I mean? But some people say they're amazing, and some people say they're dog shit. So I don't know whether they're worth $100. They're probably
They're
not worth
dog.
$100. But
You think they're dog shit, Karak?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I do is I review headphones. So it's like that was one of the first things I did was got those. That Sony sent them to me, and
so they suck.
It's not that they suck. It's just that like the Clouds, because I own 6 pair of Clouds, a pair of Nura, and then my $3,000 headphones. And I would say once I got the Nura, I got rid of all headphones because they're incredible. Like there's no headphone I've ever heard that sounds like a Nura. But these for comfort. So I got Sony's, and I thought they're the Pulse, right? We're talking about the 3D Pulse.
Yes.
Dustin? Yeah.
Yes.
The problem with the 3D Pulse versus the Clouds, and the reason why the Cloud is so unbelievably comfortable, is because they somehow figured out a way to get the band to not crunch your head, but also not fall down. Where the Pulse on your ear very heavily, and they don't breathe. And so after, like when I'm mixing music, I'll be like 8 hours in, and we'll be setting a setup or something like that. I'll be like, okay, my ears are itching. They get like itchy heat from those, where like the Clouds, these are the dual chambers, and I have a couple, they don't at all. Where the Nura require a couple finanglings to get them to actually be comfortable over time. But yeah, I would say Clouds are what I use, and then I have a couple tube amps, and then I have a couple like DAX, Mosquito, Sheet.
Do you have,
I don't know if you
have
guys
all
have
these like lined up in a closet and you just pull out a new pair every
No,
day?
they're right here. Because I test.
Really?
They're right here. So like when they send me headphones or something to test, I'll test them on various different. Like I have a Noob Sound tube amp, which is only $50.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys, Bad Seed Tech, and I were talking. He tests headphones as well. Yeah. And Brian and I were like, dude, have you heard this thing? It's $50 and it is the best fucking thing I've ever heard. So Absy, the guy who was on the podcast a couple times, he bought it and he's like, what the fuck? I don't understand. Like, how is this good for $50? So it's like, we'll go with cheap stuff and then more expensive stuff. But Cloud beats all of them because I love the Nura. No headphones sound like, and I just got Skull Candy. They were fucking terrible, by the way.
Oh, God.
Crushers.
God. Yeah.
I could not believe how bad they were. Somebody was like, if you like the Nura, you should try these. They're a little bit cheaper. They're horrid. But Clouds beat out everything because the Nura are great, but their comfort is not as high as the Cloud. I've fallen asleep with these. And like that to me is beyond impressive. Cloud just has something going, for them.
Karak, tell me more about these Nura headphones because
they're
I've seen them.
And the best headphones ever made.
Okay, here's the thing. I've seen them in ads on Facebook, and I'm like, that looks weird, and like they're trying to sell me something gimmicky.
Yeah.
But then a few months later, I start to see people say, hey, these Nura headphones are incredible. And now you are bringing them up as well. And I've seen other people that are really talking about them. I'm really intrigued by this. So you say that they're the best.
$100. Wow.
They're the best, but Dustin, you can rent them.
I've seen that.
So you don't. Yeah. So the thing about their website shows this YouTube, and you see artists, musicians saying like, what the fuck? There's no way this is a normal headphone. I will tell you this. I have had people come over, put them on and take them off and look at them and go, what the fuck? Put them on, take them off, look at them, go, what the fuck? Put them on. And one of my friends who mixes music and writes guitar, like writes songs for multiple people. He's the lead for our song on our starting of our podcast. He's like, dude, that's impossible. Like, I don't know how they sound like that. They are beyond belief. The problem is, and the huge problem is, the original little buds that sit in your ear that come with them, I tell everybody buy $5 ones off of Amazon to replace them because they are not very comfortable. And because, dude, these earphones look weird. Like they stick in your ear and they go over the.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking right now.
But I'm telling you, dude, watch the videos on their website where you have your normal sound and then you have your personalized, and it measures your ear and it plays these tones. And playing Borderlands 3 is the most incredible sonic experience you have ever had in your life. It is fucking phenomenal.
I'm looking now. It plugs into your ears and then you kind of have a surround.
Yeah, so it's a normal headphone like this almost, and then it's got almost earbuds, almost like a normal Skull Candy, earbud that goes in your ear. But they don't go all the way in. They just sit. The problem is, at least for me, I've never been comfortable with the pieces that come. So I bought $5, replacements. They were Sony, and you can see online, if you look it up, it's like one of the most requested things. So I think it's pretty obvious that's one of their issues. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, dude, it's like I've tested $3,000. I think the most expensive headphones I've ever had is $8,000 El Grand, which is like a French company. And I'm like, $8,000. Like that's a car on your face. Like that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But these are about, when I bought them, they were $400, but I couldn't rent them. I bought them. And I'm telling you, man, like you'll put them on and you will see people. It's just like the video. They will be like, what the fuck? This is impossible. Like how, and the reason why is because it's super wide soundstage and then it's got actual physical bass, but it's clear. So any bass you have all the way down to super low, like I do EDM and trance music, down to the point to where it's just vibration, is also transferred without being muddy if you have mids. Like you'll be listening to Ronald Jenkins, you'll be listening to DJ Doughboy or something like that, and every single bass beat is completely separate from every single other one. It's, again, though, comfort, right? Like that's the big thing. And I think that they do not uphold the comfort like the Clouds do. Like the Clouds are ridiculous. Okay. And Brian told me the reason why Clouds are so good, by the way, Brian from Bad Seed Tech told me these were originally not Sennheiser. There's another brand. And what happened was Cloud bought the blueprint of audio from them. So they made a gaming headset that was comfortable for gaming, but it actually has the sound of a more expensive headset. And so Brian was explaining all this to me behind the scenes. He had like documents and he's like, they bought, the patents and basically made very good normal headsets that sound good, but they're also highly comfortable because that was their main aim, was like this duality of comfort and sound. That's why I think so many people, everybody I know has Clouds, like every single person I know. So
they sit on your head, man, and just rest. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I know when I said that, people were like, well, yeah, no shit, they sit on your head, but they just like, you don't feel them. For me, it takes like a good 10 hours until I start to feel the band on my head.
I would just say rent them though, Dustin. No reason to buy them, right?
The thing is, there's that one, the payment of you have to pay $69 to start the rental.
That is true. Yeah.
Which, I mean, $400,
you get to keep it when you pay that $400 through the rental, or
so that's the problem. I believe there's something there that I didn't like, but my opinion was if I rented them, I would check and say I want them, and I would just do whatever. But I believe if you like keep them and your rent's like $9 or $19 each month, that doesn't return to you. It's like a rental. Like I didn't like that, but I was under the impression more if somebody wants to get in cheap for $70 versus $400,
right?
You would be losing a restocking fee is sort of what it is. But I warn everybody, the reason why you don't hear me talking about these a lot, you'll see, if you look, you'll see me like alive. The reason why I'm alive on Twitter is because I'm listening to them right then. And I'm like tweeting everybody and go like, fuck it. And then I sort of back off because I don't want people leaping into them if they have comfort issues where your Clouds, it's easier to say, hey, it's $100. You could return this through Amazon. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like constantly talk about these, but they are the best sounding headphones I've ever heard, above 3,000, 4,000. I mean, go watch their video on their website and you'll see like musicians, like artists being like, this is like and I have monitors. I don't know if you guys have them. I think it sounds like Dustin probably has monitors.
Yeah.
But I have monitors, which are your flat tone speakers. They're not adjusted like a creative, I've got very expensive monitors, and the Nira are so much better than the monitors. It's mind blowing.
These are
like how much. Yeah, I mean, $69.
Well,
at least
I have a little extra cash still from the Christmas time. Not a lot, but
for like gift card or whatever, Visa card.
It would make it. I have like $100 basically of free money. Like I have more than $100 in my bank account, but of like you can buy whatever you want and not feel bad.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So
I'd be interested because I know you're an audio guy too. I'd be interested to see like what you think, because to see other people that I consider pretty high up, like a Bad Seed Tech or like my friend Andy, and have them be like, what the shit? Like that's pretty cool, because you rarely get that in audio. How many times have you got a headphone and you're like, yeah, they sound a little crisper, they're a little less muddy, but this time I was just like, what? It's like, what the fuck?
For $20, you can get the one that has a cable with a microphone for gaming.
Yeah, for gaming. Yeah, which
That's
I
one thing about
unfortunately got the free one.
Oh yeah, with both of these headphones, this one obviously not gaming at all, but I like it when the mic detaches.
Oh yeah, it's so nice.
It seems like essential.
I had a Sennheiser that was amazing, but
that.
it flicked down, and it fucking bothered me to no end. But to detach,
I feel that.
Wow, we went off. Sorry, I apologize. They're that good though. I wouldn't talk about them unless I was that impressed.
I'm interested for real. So you've got something for me to research some more.
Straw Hat's about to return as Sennheisers.
Yeah.
Logan B writes in, "Hey guys, after the recent departures from Dying Light 2 and Halo Infinite, I've been a bit concerned about both of the games. Can you guys think of any examples where important devs have left the game before release and the game still came out great? Hope all of you have a great 2021 going forward. And also, I've been loving the new Xbox podcast. Keep up the good work." Thank you. Important devs leaving before a game releases and it still came out great. I mean, you see contractors leave a lot. Like, there was a pretty significant kind of dosage of clickbait happening, and I use that word sparingly because it's tossed around way too easily. But it really was happening with GameSpot, and they tried to act like someone significant had left Halo Infinite, and it was a contractor. A lot of contractors leave every project ever. So, it's hard to say, but we're talking important devs, significant departures. I would really just say no, because I can't think of anything. Can you guys?
Leslie Bezos left prior to to Red Dead 2, didn't he? Leslie? He was not a developer, he was a writer. But it was isn't his name Leslie Bezos?
I thought that was after.
I thought that was before. Are you sure? Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, honestly.
Okay.
It's vague to me. I almost forgot. I'm thinking maybe of Dan Houser.
Dan Houser, that's the name.
Dan Houser, thank you. Okay, yeah, but I guess I'm wrong on the timing. I would say we also don't hear about big devs leaving and the game doing well because it's no longer a continued story. So if the game does well and the dev left, then we heard probably about the dev leaving. But then when the game does well, that's forgotten. Halo 2 did lose. Halo 3 lost Halo 2's original creator, who is now back for Halo fucking 6 or whatever one we're getting, because that guy was the original creator who just got hired back to work on Infinite.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah, it's hard to think, man.
Yeah,
that's spot on. The story goes away when the game ends up fine.
Yeah, and if a game doesn't have big devs and it does fine, then we celebrate it for a different reason. What did Ken Levine leave by? No, Ken Levine didn't leave BioShock. He just recreated the fucking thing like 11 times, right? Shock Infinite. Yeah. Didn't he tear that thing up? Okay, so yeah.
They disbanded Irrational.
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating E3 stories.
Isn't that BioShock 2, Dustin? Because he left, right?
That's so. To my understanding, Irrational Games made BioShock 1 and they made Infinite. A different team made 2. After Infinite, so it
wasn't somebody leaving.
Yeah, after Infinite, he scaled down the studio like extremely and then renamed it, and now it's Ghost Story Games.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And somehow they still haven't released a game. That was like 6 years ago.
Watch his GDC too. He does a GDC 2 years ago. I love GDC. I can fucking watch GDC videos forever. But Ken does a GDC video about what he's working on now, and you're just like, what the fuck? He's so far beyond like normal people talk about. He's like John Carmack. Get them two in a room and you have like a perpetual motion machine of knowledge. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. Steve Wolf writes in, Dustin mentioned in an earlier podcast that he played in bands when he was younger, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just curious, what type of music did you, Dustin, play? Also, which type of music are you all into? I feel like Maddie and Dustin could both listen to some J-pop, which I respect, given all the awesome weeb games you guys go for. I actually got Astral Chain and 13 Sentinels based on you guys talking about them on the show. Hope you're all having a great start to the year. Let's go. Astral Chain. I was just looking up combo videos for that. That's so funny, just because I wanted to see. There's like a love for Bayonetta, there's a love for Nier Automata and their combos and their animation. I'm like, I've never seen anyone do that with Astral Chain, and that's from Platinum. And there really wasn't. There's no like crazy high view combo videos for that. So it's good to see someone has hopped on board to the Astral Chain wave. But anyway, music, gentlemen.
Sure.
Dustin, what kind of music did you play?
Okay, when I was in junior high, I was in like a hardcore band with screaming and stuff. We were really, really bad.
Nice.
But we played some shows and we had a good time. Whatever. And then when I was in like late high school and early college, I was in a different band that was more like it's kind of hard to define. It's like heavier pop punk ish. I don't know. I don't know. Kind of like Brand New. It's at points, if you know that band.
Yes, actually.
Yeah. I don't know. It was good times. You can probably find the videos on YouTube somewhere if you search hard enough. I played guitar.
Oh, cool.
And not in the screaming band, I played just guitar. I can't do any kind of vocals like that. And in the other band, I played guitar and I sang. So,
I can hear Dustin singing. Let's go.
Whoa, yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's been a long time, but it was good times. But Maddie, let's talk. Do you listen to J-pop, Maddie, at all?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. I mean, it's funny. I actually posted my Spotify wrap up. You know how they do that every year?
Yeah.
And mine was just like a ton of Japanese tracks that I could not try to read. And so I was like, wow, 2020 was really a wild year. I just, for me, I genuinely think it's because as a kid, I would take MP3 files of like songs from games, like tracks or whatever that I really like, like Kingdom Hearts 2 battle music, and I put it on a CD or I put it in an MP3 player and I just listened to that. So I think my brain has just been trained for years that I like good sounds, that just they sound good together, right? And of course that's what music is. But like what I'm trying to say here is I was never like listening to all the music everyone else was. So I would always be grinding game music. So for me, like the Japanese music works because the vocals are just like, if the tone matches like the beat and the beat sounds good, I'm sold. Like it's very simple. And so
right.
I don't need like a deeper meaning on the lyrics. There are games like Persona I think of that have that for me, but for the most part, I'm not lyrically driven. So I listen to pretty much everything but country, because country really is the same kind of guitar and drums, and then the same song about a truck.
You just said you didn't care about deep lyrics, though. So country's perfect for you.
No, I'm saying because they always have some type of message, and they're back. I can't musically speak properly, so I'm failing at this. But the background music, like the guitars and the drums, and the instruments that are used, are very samey. So then it does fall onto the lyrics, is what I'm saying.
No, I understand that, Maddie. There's a video where someone took this was probably 5 to 7 years ago, where they took all like the country hits and then made them combined into one song, and they flowed together perfectly. Which it's basically all pop music is the same.
And admittedly, anything with the same BPM, you can somewhat, do
right.
That. I would say for me, I make and do electronica and stuff like that because it's the easiest and it can sound good, even though I'm not fucking good at it. But I've been doing that since like for the last 20 years. I would say I listen to everything but country as well. I think you're talking about styled country, which is that kind, like Hank Williams Jr. and stuff. I can listen to some of the new stuff, but for the most part, I'm a huge classical fan. I'm a huge choir fan. Especially like if you are testing headphones, you're always looking for another. Like the children's choir out of Indianapolis does a couple current songs, and they replace them. They replace the vocals with their own kind of stuff. And video game stuff. Unreal Tournament. I'm a huge Unreal Tournament 1999 fan. Jesper Kid. Ronald Jenkins. I like all of the tech stuff. Like even Austin. Austin's a little classical at times, but Justin Bell. Because I just gave Outer Worlds the second game of the year. What?
Oh, sorry. I wasn't trying to cut you off. I'm excited because you said you liked classical. My wife, Holly, she is in the main choir in Pittsburgh called the Mendelssohn Choir. Mm-hmm. And she's on a CD that's coming out soon that's of the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, Beethoven's Ninth. that could potentially it's being considered for a Grammy. So
Ooh.
I'll have to send that to
Is
you.
it yeah, please send it to me because like I am not joking. Like I am a huge I definitely like when vocals are just there's something about vocals when they're done, you know, impeccably well that I don't care about like Maddie. I don't really, the message isn't as important. I don't know about Maddie because you were saying country, but dude, there's have you ever heard Hank Williams Jr., the old stuff?
No.
Maddie? No? Okay.
No, sorry.
Because I actually think you would sort of like it. There's some stuff that reminds me of Far Cry 5's starting song. Do you remember Far Cry 5's title? That that bluegrass mix. There's some stuff from Hank Williams Jr. Shadowface is one of his original CDs that's just phenomenal. But yeah, I love vocals, man. Vocals when they're good.
Mentioning old music, you know, I went on a classical grind like 3 years ago, and then I kind of stopped. For me, what's always kind of stuck, and I feel like it's just I think it's because it's the main source of entertainment I've consumed, is usually it ends up connecting to a game in some way, shape, or form. So like Fallout introduced me to 40s and 50s music. Like it just brought me right into that.
So true, right?
And you know, I think you could kind of you could like literally counter what I said earlier about samey music and be like, well, all the 40s music was like, and you know, like you'd have like the woman kind of step in and sing a part of the song, and then it would go back to the guy. But it was always catchy foot tapping kind of music. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a very, very easy customer on music, and I don't have anything that really transcends time for me. It's just like, what's the new wave? What am I feeling right now? I'll dip into a pool and I'll hop back out.
Dustin, have you ever heard of Unleash the Archers?
No.
The band? Dude, I guarantee you, I'll look this up and I'll send you it. And I want you to listen to it after this podcast because one of my friends, I'm not a huge Screaming fan, but she's a Canadian. She's 5'4". She's about 101 pounds. And I heard her voice, and that Rebecca lady, the voice coach, she's on YouTube. You'll see her like, you know, she responds to vocals. Like she was like, this might be the best vocalist I've heard in my life. And it's like really hard rock, but it's got this chick singing. It reminds you of like Evanescence, but better.
Oh yeah.
Actually good. And but yeah, I'll send this to you because it's fucking so good.
It's funny. I was so into like hardcore death metal stuff like that when I was in junior high, and now I still listen to that occasionally. I've really kind of flipped the opposite direction, but
I would say
Maddie,
I have too.
You made me think of something really interesting. You were saying how a lot of music has connected to games, and I think I've realized the most millennial thing about myself.
Okay.
Like textbook, and I should be embarrassed about this. I think I am actually. I had heard the Beatles before Beatles Rock Band, but that is what got me into the Beatles is Beatles Rock Band.
Dude, how do you think I found 80s music? I played Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah.
And that literally brought me that whole level, or that whole genre, of music. You know, it's
funny because the Beatles are like top 5
iconic, but you wouldn't have thought of. Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like to the point where it's like I've seen Paul McCartney twice in concert. I own most of the albums on vinyl.
Live, you mean? You've actually gone to Paul McCartney?
Yeah. Like in the like when he's been in Pittsburgh, basically.
Oh wow.
So
didn't know that.
Yeah. But it's just funny, like the Beatles are such an essential part of my life and my music history now. And it's all because of Beatles Rock Band. So
dude, yeah, it's amazing what movies or games or anything can just.
It's sad too because Rock Band isn't as popular, and one of our Discord chicks, she's great at guitar, name's Maltov Michelle. She's and she's in Maddie's Discord actually.
She is,
and she can play guitar so well that like Everclear and a couple other bands have like retweeted when she goes live. And I was sitting there listening to her. What's the one that has the real guitar now? Rocksmith, right? Rocksmith's with the real guitar and the tuner. And she's playing this, and it dawned on me as she's playing hundreds of songs from Queensryche to Def Leppard to fucking, current stuff, all the stuff. It dawned on me without those games, like a lot of people aren't going to find the Beatles. That's just the fact of it all, is that unfortunately, if we don't see more of those games come back, like a lot of bands, like a lot of people like Dustin won't pick, won't find a certain band and stuff. And that would sort of suck. Because I actually found a lot of bands through Yas, which I didn't know who they were. I found them through fucking like Rock Band. I found a lot of bands through Rock Band. Just like,
it would have to happen in a more traditional way. Like because the Beatles reminds me when in 2018 I went to QuakeCon. It was me and two of my best friends, and they were outside and hanging out. And my Tyler's, he's 20 now, but he was like 18 at the time. And that was the first time he had heard the Beatles. My friend introduced him to it, and it's his like favorite band to listen to now. And it's
wow, interesting.
Yeah. So
we should do a music podcast because that's my jam. Like I would love to do music.
A whole music segment.
We
I would
probably do a slice of ham. Let's do it.
Yeah, because dude, I'm here.
Let's do a whole music episode. That'd be awesome.
I would have to brush up, but I'm down.
Well, not really. I mean,
I do. I'm good at explaining things I see, but things I hear, I struggle with a little bit.
Oh, so, I see.
I stumble. Like I that's why in reviews, that's like the most scripted part. It's because like I have to very methodically pick it apart. And, So, but I'm good with that. Let's do it. Know It All writes in. We only got a couple questions left. What technology do you guys hope the next generation Pro version of both consoles will implement? I can't remember if this rumor was shut down or not, but there was speculation of PS5 Pro having 2 GPUs. Most people do not even have a next-gen console, so maybe the conversation isn't worth having at this point. I'm going to be honest up front, I would agree. But I remember being extremely grateful of the One S and the One X of my last gen, because my family's base Xbox One performed so awful. There's definitely value there. Just I think right now we are so early in the race, it's hard to really talk about that because we haven't seen anything that's pushed it to its limits where the new powers demanded, other than catching up to what PC's doing, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless you guys got more to add, we can probably skip it on through, but I don't want to rush.
I think the only thing I can think of, because there was a rumor about this that I never believed, is that there was a rumor at one point that Xbox would be able to play PC games. It's to some extent, in some weird way. I'm wondering if something like that is possible. There was a rumor that I did believe that Microsoft was trying to figure out a way that you could put an Xbox disc into a PC and play it.
That'd be awesome.
So I'm wondering, maybe this isn't fit for Microsoft and Sony. Definitely not Sony. But I'm just wondering if there is still a potential for some kind of PC living room experience that's easier than having a Windows PC in your living room.
Right. In your living room.
Something more commercial.
Which is not as clean as people think. I think a lot of times. You'll hear people be like, just have a PC in your living room. It's like, dude, it's not 65 wires in the back of my PC. Yeah, right. I would say DLSS is coming to these, obviously in some basic format. So yeah, I would agree with you guys. I think it's pretty early to, they're pretty powerful. Oh, by the way, the 2 GPU thing, just so you guys know, 2 GPUs, NVIDIA couldn't even get it right, and that was their entire fucking thing. Having buffer issues with multiple frames and all that stuff, the reason why 2 GPUs aren't used is because of that. The Xbox was planned to originally have an integrated GPU for your OS. So your OS would run on an integrated, and then your normal games would run on your GPU. And that is actually quite intelligent because you can do some stuff, some pretty crazy stuff that way. But yeah, I don't think dual GPUs makes any sense unless you're just using one to do your OS, and that's it. And I can see why PS5 had that rumor because they have cards. PS5's got a pretty heavy, not heavy, but you know what I mean. They've got a lot of stuff going on, movies and fucking picture-in-picture. I sort of dig the PS5 picture-in-picture. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I always like that feature. It kind of takes share play to another level.
Yeah.
Natural Calamity writes in with 2 questions. Now, not to jump ahead too much, but in his second question, he asked about when will we talk about Starfield, or when will we see Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6. So we did answer that earlier in the show pretty extensively. So we are just going to answer one of Natural's questions, which is, what is your favorite moment in video games? What moved you? What was so awesome it left your jaw on the floor? Mine would have to be a recent one. I've been playing Control, and the ashtray maze is just so goddamn awesome. I almost died from awesomeness.
That's fucking. That's
if
awesome
we're picking
moment.
if we are picking recent ones, I think third semester Persona 5 Royal left my jaw on the floor for sure. I was like, oh,
damn.
Fuck. That was one recently. That is probably, I don't think I've ever been as moved by a game than P5R. You know, I've been moved by announcements and excitement, but on an emotional level, yeah, it's really hard to think of some of them. I would have to probably go with that one.
You got one, Dustin?
I have a few. I'll blitz through them. The ending of Danganronpa V3, craziest ending of all time.
Fuck. Holy fuck, yeah.
Of all time. One of the best intros as far as style when Metal Gear Solid 5, when it's playing The Man Who Sold the World. I think that intro is fucking cool. When I was a kid, ending of Kingdom Hearts 1, when Kairi and Sora are separated, it moved little Duddy's heart. I had one more. Oh, one of the last bosses in Undertale is horrifying, and it just will give you nightmares. So those are the ones I think of the top of my head.
Which one is it?
Dustin, is it horrifying looking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I can't remember. Oh, I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
Maddie. Did you play Undertale, Maddie?
Yeah. I just stopped at the end of my genocide playthrough. I hate bullet hell.
I'll put a picture in so Karak can see. I don't know if
I've only played a very small amount of that game.
It's very unexpected when it happens. Well, maybe it's not unexpected. It's just nightmare fuel. Think about the art style of the rest of the game, and then you see this shit pop up. And
it also looks a bit like ovaries in an X-ray of somebody's womb.
Well, that makes sense with
oh, dude, that is what it looks like to me. Yeah. See, I don't like the eyeball thing. That guy, there's a phobia for that, and I would say I'm pretty close to it. So for me, Mass Effect 1, the ending, when you think Shepard's dead, but the door's open, knock it off, go. But sorry, the main one to me is probably Oxenfree, and I would say that it's the ending of Oxenfree when you realize it's all going to repeat. And there's like this devastating moment where, and I remember, because I'm not a big heartfelt guy, but I remember Cadiz was, he was coming over and I'm like, dude, let's play this game again. We played it 2 more times, like my 2 times. And then he came over and we played it another 2 times. And I remember he was just like, what the fuck? This game is amazing. And there was something about knowing it restarted and you're on the ferry again and just being like, oh no. And not, oh no, you have to do it again. But like, oh no, this is what's happening. And fucking that game will probably always stick as like one of the top like 5 games emotionally that I've played and just been like,
dude.
What?
It's so good. And I remember for a while you talked about that game, like every podcast you brought up.
Yeah,
Oxenfree.
I could not shut up about Oxenfree.
Not even in a bad way. Just I remember just Oxenfree. It was the default answer. Karak, what's your favorite cereal? Oxenfree. Like it's just everything.
Everything?
Yeah.
Chocolate milk or vanilla. Oxenfree.
All right. Last question of the show. Definitely a random one. Panicking Duck writes in, hey guys, hope all of you are doing well. Got a couple of things to say. It's soda, not pop, and multiple ice cubes are the way to go. I'm on your side, Maddie. And finally, I have a dumb and random ass question. Can any of you fine gentlemen drive a stick shift vehicle? Have a good day.
Yes, of course. I can drive a dual clutch. What the fuck?
I've never tried to drive stick.
Oh, really?
No, I've never tried.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it's not insanely difficult. I imagine I could figure it out, but I've never tried.
Someone taught me at one point, but it was so many years ago that I no longer know how to do it. And I've not needed to. So.
Yeah, true, right?
I'm not a car guy, so I just got to ask, like, is there a appeal to that? Is it the feeling of in control of shifting, or is it like,
trust me,
your car?
If someone drives stick, they will let you know that they like driving stick. They'll make it very clear, and they'll explain the reasons why automatic is inferior, and they will do that often. It's like people who emulate games on Raspberry Pi. You know that they do, and they will make sure to mention it.
All right,
I think with stick also, there's a feeling of like you have a bit more control, but Tiptronic was the original type of clutchless that Porsche brought forward, and now almost all cars have some kind of sport mode where you can shift the gear over and tap it. They used to be called tap shifting. Yeah, and that's
the paddle shifters.
Yeah, and once that happened, you can't blow the engine. That's the difference between a manual now and an automatic. Is like an automatic will shift. Like I had a Hyundai Genesis, it was 500 horse, and it would be like there's a certain thing you can do, and then it would shift on its own. But a manual, that wouldn't happen. But that's about it now. And I mean, I grew up Dodge Darts, fucking like trucks, manuals. I get what Dustin's saying, and I used to always find that really stupid to say. Like somebody'd be like, I like, the only way to drive is a stick. And I'd be like, nah, not really.
So
not
they're
really.
like the PC gamers of cars? Is that
they are, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That just summed up everything I said in a much more succinct format. They are the PC, what do you call it? PC Master Race.
Master Race.
That is exactly how, and trust me, I've driven them. I know where they're coming from, but
okay.
Especially now, now cars, like he said, once you have paddles,
it really is.
It really is. No, that is
when
a
Dustin
perfect
was describing it,
explanation.
I'm like, that's like telling me consoles suck ass, even though we're playing the same games. Just
even though you're playing the same game, and there are slight different. Even when the game's identical, you still hear it. So yeah.
Someone will say, "I prefer consoles because I like the convenience and it just works."
Mm-hmm.
And then like a PC game, we're like, "What the fuck? You don't want a high frame rate, a quality experience. You don't want to be able to control your car. You don't want." It's like exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
It is
perfect.
very much so.
All right, well, that was our last question for the show. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. Compared to previous weeks, definitely not as hefty of a question list. So that was surprising given all the news. So we expect to see all of you show up in a strong manner next week. We'll have a lot to talk about. So with that, gentlemen, it's been an excellent episode. I'm sure we really lost a lot of our audience halfway through. I'm looking at the timestamps. That's when we were talking about Pokemon. So for those of you who got this far, thank you for giving us
Dude,
us
that was
your
a
ear.
good conversation.
Yeah.
I like the spice, dude. You got to balance the spice. You can't be too fiery. You don't want to sound like a bunch of assholes arguing. But
I would say
we'll
it's
heat
pretty
up.
rare. I fly off the handle like that. I would argue it's pretty rare. So
that is pretty rare, admittedly.
Yeah.
I think you and me talking about fucking Primal versus Battlefront is the only other time. You didn't even get spicy on that. You were just like, nope, I'm putting my foot down.
Yeah, I take it too
Primal
seriously.
sucks.
Yeah, I
Fuck
take it too
you,
seriously.
man.
At least with Pokemon, it's just like I had a good
no,
time
you didn't
doing
take it seriously. I'm saying that's the only other time where like you're like putting your foot down. You're like, no, no, you're wrong.
All right. Well, if you got this deep, I mean, that hashtag has to throw it back to the Pokemon section. What the hell do we do with that?
Hashtag snap.
Yeah, I like that.
I said a hashtag earlier when you were talking about your dog getting your balls. It was like hashtag lesson learned or something.
Oh, lesson learned.
I can't remember what it was.
Will we either go for convenience here or a little joke? Lesson learned or snap?
Let's do lesson learned, because at that point, if they've got this far, they can give us 2 words.
They can.
Lesson learned. Yeah.
Lesson learned.
And let it be a lesson to all of you. You got this far, you got to work.
We make you work for us.
Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 285 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We hope all of you have a fantastic week, and we will catch you next week with episode 286. Peace out.
Peace out.
See ya.